of MV Mandali's College of Commerce and Science. Welcome all for collaborative online conclave on the theme Union Budget 2022 Challenges, Prospects and Opportunities for India, jointly organized by Western Regional Center, Indian Council of Social Science Research, ICSSR Mumbai, and MV Mandali's Colleges of Commerce and Science. We will have a traditional auspicious lamplighting ceremony. As a tribute to Mother Saraswati, I request our principal, Dr. Gopal Kalkotri, and all the dignitaries to proceed for lamplighting. Thank you all. To begin with first address for the program, I take the opportunity to introduce Dr. Gopal Kalkoti, Principal of MV Mandali's Colleges of Commerce and Science. Sir has total teaching experience for undergraduate classes of 37 years. For postgraduate classes, he has experience of 15 years. He is a recognized MPhil guide of YCMOU and PhD guide of University of Mumbai. Sir has successfully guided many students. He has guided 10 students for PhD. Number of students awarded for MPhil under him is 8. Number of students pursuing PhD under him are 2. Sir has been elected unopposed as the chairman of the Board of Studies in Business Economics, University of Mumbai. Sir is convener and member of Local Inquiry Committee and Expert Committee of University of Mumbai to various colleges. Sir, I invite you to kindly address our participants.
Thank you, Anita Chaudhary, Madam. Good morning to one and all who has joined this collaborative online conclave online. The idea of having this collaborative online conclave is that of Dr. Smita Shukla, who is the Honorary Director of Western Region Center of ICSSR. When she came with the idea that let us have some collaborative program, we immediately started planning, and because of the thorough planning, we have now come to the auspicious day of having this collaborative online conclave. This is also the part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. The whole country is celebrating 75th year of independence. The topic that we have chosen is also quite relevant and contemporary. That is Union Budget 2022 Challenges, Prospects and Opportunities for India. The Union Budget is a wonderful opportunity for learning and discussing macroeconomics. This is particularly useful to academicians, policymakers, practitioners, and common citizens who represent various segments who are keen on understanding the implications and impacts of the budget on the entire economy. As all of you are aware, the Union Budget 2021 itself was a bold and deficit-led massive stimulus while maintaining the status quo on tax rates. This paid off with 9.2% GDP growth and buoyancy in tax collections. Therefore, it can be stated that the broad strategy for the Union budget of 22-23 was based on the positive economic experience of the previous year's budget. I'm not going into the details of all the aspects of budget 22 because all the experts in the various fields are going to cover this. But I would definitely like to inform you all that this particular collaborative online conclave, which is being jointly organized by Western Region Center ICSSR and MV Mandali's degree colleges of commerce and science. This has the following themes: overall impact of budget 2022 in the recovery from COVID-19, agriculture and budget 22, budget 22 and financial markets, coverage of hospitality and health in budget 22, overview of budget 22 on trade and industry, budget 22, its implication on banking. The technical session 1, that is inaugural session, we have Dr. Sundaram Korvi, who is joining us from UAE. His address will be followed by Dr. S. Anand, who is joining from Muscat. We also have amidst us Shri Sanjeeva K. Salian, who is the chairman of Education Committee of MV Mandali. Of course, amongst all, we have the honorary director of ICSSR, Dr. Smita Shukla also. So without taking much of your time, I, on behalf of Western Region Center, ICSSR, on behalf of management, on behalf of faculty, on behalf of teaching and non-teaching staff, and on behalf of all of you who are joined online, welcome you all for this inaugural session. So have a nice sessions. This session is followed by a technical session 1, where the authorities and specialists in the field of higher education will join. And also we have the panel session, panel discussion, where academicians will also be there. So all in all, this is going to be a good platter of mixed thoughts for all the stakeholders of the economy. On that note, I once again welcome you all for this collaborative online conclave. Thank you very much. Over to you, Anitaji.
Thank you, sir, for warm welcome address and also for briefing us about today's conclave. Next speaker for today's program is Dr. Smita Shukla. I take this opportunity to introduce ma'am. Ma'am is Director for Western Regional Center ICSSR Mumbai. She is IQAC Director of University of Mumbai. She is handling quality initiatives, including NAC process. She is Professor as Alkesh Dinesh Modi Institute for Financial and Management Studies since January 2009. She has also worked for other management institutes in past like ADM, IFMS, SIS, and IES. She has done PhD in private equity. To add more to her qualification, ma'am is also an MBA, MA Economics, ATF, postgraduate diploma in Securities Law and NET. We are privileged to have you, ma'am, amidst us. I invite Dr. Smita to present her opening remarks.
Thank you so much. May I ask all the participants to be on mute? Thank you so much to MVM team. So this program which we are organizing today is a collaborative program, as Dr. Kalkoti. So it's a joint collaborative program which Western Regional Center
Smita madam, you are on mute. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yes,
sir?
yes. Now, yes. Now, yes. Yeah. Please go ahead, madam.
Okay, so let me start again because, yes, yeah, let me start again. So I welcome all the participants of the program today who are participating in this collaborative program, which is being jointly organized by Western Regional Center ICSSR and MVM College of Commerce and Science. This program, as Professor Kalkoti pointed out, is based on my request. I wanted to do a program with one of the affiliated colleges of University of Mumbai, and none other than Professor Kalkoti I could think of. Professor Kalkoti, with his huge vast experience of working in area of economics and the experience of also getting connected with various issues related to economic policy making, there was no choice better than him to do this collaborative conclave. And today we have the result before us. Today we will be discussing Union Budget 2022 challenges, prospects and opportunities for India. Created for all the participants, the member of audience is also one which I'll say is going to contribute a lot to the discussion. So we have Professor Sundar Ram Korevi. He is the chief guest of the program. Welcome even the technical session members, technical session 1 and technical session 2, Dr. Robin Banerjee, Dr. Paras Rampatil, Dr. Venkat Chalam Shamugam, then technical session 2, Dr. Medha Tapiawala, Dr. B.H. Nagur, and Dr. Pankaj Trivedi. In both the technical sessions, technical session 1 and technical session 2, what will be deliberated will be specific nuances of the budget. As Professor Kalkoti pointed out, that with respect to any country and for a growing economy like India, and an economy which has been hit with pandemic recently, the importance of the budget increases. The budget importance also increases because we are in the 75th year of independence. So we are kind of looking back at our achievements, and we are trying to understand that as a country, where we are and what further we have to do. And in that context, the topic has been decided. The focus for this year's budget has been inclusive growth. It has been capital expenditure led budget, which was in fact a requirement for several years, and government has been looking at this aspect for last several years as well. It is also an infrastructure growth led budget. It also has focus on banking and finance, etc. Let me not say much, because today the speakers of the day will be talking about various aspects of the budget. One important aspect will be definitely markets, another discussion. So let me stop here and welcome all the guests again, the speakers, the esteemed speakers of the day again. And I look forward to whatever is being deliberated. And thank you so much, MVM College of Commerce and Science, and a special thanks to Dr. Gopal Kalkoti for coming ahead and accepting our invitation to do this collaborative mode program. Thank you so much. Over to you, conference team.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam, again.
Thank you, ma'am, for providing an overview about today's conclave and inviting our speakers again from your side. It's my proud privilege to introduce chief guest for today's program, Professor Dr. Sundar Ram Korevi. Sir is a subject expert from Arun Jaitley National Institute of Financial Management, established by Ministry of Finance, Government of India. Sir is involved in conducting policy research for the Ministry of Finance, Department of Economic Affairs under the DEA AGNIFM research program. He is associate faculty in the MBA Finance program affiliated to Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, since 2018. He is adjunct faculty in Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, IICA, established by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. Sir has conducted training programs for the regulatory staff of IBBI and Ministry of Heavy Industry, Department of Public Enterprises. Sir is PhD guide and subject expert in Symbiosis International Deemed University, Pune, and has guided two PhD students successfully. Sir is member of various boards like Board of Studies, Banking, Insurance, and Financial Markets, uh, HSNC University for BFM, BBI, and MCOM in banking. He is also a member of BFSI Board, Institute of Cost Accountant of India. He is member of Board of Studies, Goa Business School, University of Goa, MBA Financial Services, and also visiting faculty for Insurance Institute of India, College of Insurance. Sir has worked for various esteemed institutes throughout his career. He was associated with National Institute of Securities Market, Indira Gandhi National Open University, NMIMS Deemed University, SP Jain Institute of Management Studies and Research, and he has got various industry experience with several MNCs like Tata Industrial Finance. He has worked as manager there. He was associated with Exion as merchant banker and worked as assistant vice president. He was also associated with Business India. Sir, we extend a huge warm welcome to you. Now I invite our chief guest for the program, Dr. Sundaram Koravi, to address the participants.
Thank you very much, Ms. Manita Chaudhary, and to Dr. Smita Shukla, Dr. Kalkoti, and all the organizations connected with this program. First of all, since this is an educative experience, the union budget is one of the best laboratory experiments that we can ever get to study macroeconomics. But to draw the true lessons from the union budget, some words of caution is that we have very voluble comments, very vocal comments and reactions on the budget from, among others, two communities. One is the community that invests in the stock market, and the other is the community which looks at the tax structure. We should avoid these distractions because as far as the stock market is concerned, the budget, good or bad, its effects are consumed within 1 or 2 days. That's about it. As far as income tax is concerned and GST is concerned, there will always be 1% increase here, 0.5% increase there, which is all tinkering. We don't learn anything from that. So therefore, let me come to the broad issues. And in my short session, because the experts are going to talk about the granular details, I will paint a broad brush. First of all, how does the outside world look at India? Let me say that the outside world looks at India in a very positive manner, barring the pessimism which we see within the country. The outside world looks at India with a lot of optimism. So the influencing factors for the union budget are also determined from external factors. As students of economics, we should understand that there is the World Bank group of institutions, which is having a continuous consultative process with the policymakers of India. Then we have other multilateral agencies, such as the Asian Development Bank and the Asian Institute of AIIB, which is the BRICS Bank. But mainly the World Bank institutions and Asian Development Bank have an influence on policy making. Then India is a member of the G20 countries. And the finance ministers of the G20 countries are in constant consultation with each other. Primarily counter-terrorism finance, anti-money laundering measures, and also the flow of international investments and customs barriers. So the G20 also has an influence. Apart from that, you have two very powerful organizations whose writ runs across various countries. And those are the rating agencies. like Standard and Poor and Moody's. So more than anything else, it is these two organizations who keep prodding the governments across the world, saying that watch your fiscal deficit. Okay, watch your balance of payments position. So therefore, budgets are not made in a vacuum. There is an international setting in which the budget is broadly framed. That is the first aspect. Now, taking a deeper dive, we also have bilateral organizations. For example, the Japan International Cooperation Agency, we have KFW from Germany, we have USAID, and various bilateral aid agencies, which also have discussions with the Indian policymakers. Taking a deep dive into the engineering of the budget. It is the duty of the government to smoothen the economic cycle. There is no single force which can counter the economic cycles. But there can be one force which can minimize the adverse effect of the economic cycles. And if we take the starting point, equation number 1 in macroeconomics, it is the GDP equation, which has got 5 components. C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Everybody in this audience knows about it. So the individual consumption aspect is usually down during times of pandemic and economic down cycle. And in the past few years, the government has taken initiatives such as the Garib Kalyan Yojana and the Kisan Samman Yojana, trying to put money into the hands of the most affected people. That has happened through 2020 and 2021 as well. Now comes the aspect of investment, private investment. Private investment in India has, from the year 2012 onwards, been at an abysmal low. So therefore, the government has taken upon itself the responsibility of giving this big push. So it is in the absence of lack of private sector initiative, investment initiative, it is the government that has been doing the big push, which has had 2 effects. One is big infrastructure investment, and the second is some of these initiatives will filter down as income to the people who get employment out of these infrastructure spending. Now, as far as the private investment is concerned, surprisingly, let's try to examine why the private investment was not forthcoming right from 2013 up to 2019. It is that large companies had taken loans from the banking system, which resulted in non-performing assets. So neither the private sector nor the banking system was geared to finance capital expenditure. And therefore, they were adopting a wait and watch opportunity, wait and watch approach. So therefore, in 2000, the government took its initiative in doing the big spending. And you saw huge infrastructure spending. Then in 2020, surprisingly, in the midst of COVID, private sector investment again thought that things have bottomed out and they started coming. And by then, the government of India started utilizing its programs like Atmanirbhar, Stand Up India, Startup India, and last but not the least, the PLI scheme, Performance Linked Incentive Scheme, which has really spurred foreign direct investment. So whereas Indian private sector was sitting on the fence, foreign direct investment has accelerated to such an extent that we are in the top 10 global destinations. We have $632 billion of reserves. Then comes X minus M. Final points I would like to make is that this massive thrust on exports was never there. Yes, we had incentives for gems and jewelry and textiles and garments, etc., but that was a patchwork of initiatives. This major thrust on exports was never there. And it is going to be the engine which is going to drive growth in the future. To some extent, that even all the clamor for MSP may reduce if Indian exporters realize that there is an export market apart from a district-oriented market. And last but not the least, import has been muted. There are attempts to mute the imports through innovation. Some of the biggest innovations you will see are ethanol blending and EV batteries, but for EV you need to import lithium. So some of the biggest innovations you're going to see is ethanol blending, hydrogen emission, and coal gasification. So watch out for these spaces in the future. So another important aspect of this budget is that the long-term vision. In 2019, when Mr. Piyush Goyal was the finance minister, he talked about a vision for the decade, 10-point vision for the decade. And in this budget, the Honorable Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, has talked about the path for the next 25 years. So the lessons for students and academicians in this audience is that every budget now is going to be one pearl in the entire string. It's not that one budget is unconnected to the previous budget, no. And therefore, the final point I'd like to make is that as students, as academicians, as researchers in economics, I would like to say that if you follow the certain leads, it will actually be possible for you in future to anticipate the broad contours of next year's budget. Now, where do you look for clues? Look for what is happening in the G20 ministerial meetings, where all the finance ministers meet. Look for clues there. Look for clues on the statements and publications of the Niti Aayog. Okay. Look at economic surveys. And not only economic survey and budget of 1 year, you have to look at the economic survey and budget of the past 4 or 5 years to get a broad idea of the underlying trend. That is important. So we have technical experts throughout the sessions that follow. And I thought that when it is raining, you need to have a bucket. Okay. So what I have attempted is to give you a bucket so that you can capture the valuable drops of wisdom from the following speakers. With these words, I thank the organizers and wish the webinar all success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your expertise, knowledge, and thoughts on Budget 2022. Sharing your thoughts on macroeconomics, bilateral organizations, various yojanas and schemes made available by Government of India to accelerate business. Sir, it was enriching to hear you. Thank you once again. I take this opportunity to introduce guest of honor for today's program, Dr. Anand. Dr. Anand is Director of Postgraduate Studies and Research Department, College of Banking and Financial Studies, Muscat, Sultanate of Oman. Sir is resourceful Doctor of Finance with around 30 years of expertise in management, education, and administration. He was visiting professor at leading B schools in Dubai, Germany, and India. He has published more than 50 and presented more than 40 several research papers in national and international conferences, journals, magazines, newspapers, and promoted concepts and ideas in various academic forums. He is an associate editor in Sage Publication, international journal titled Business Perspective and Research, which is indexed in Scopus and ranked by ABDC, ABS, and SJR. Sir has served as a member of Subject Expert Committee to review MBA and BBA curriculum in some of the state universities in India and Oman. We welcome you, sir. I now request Dr. Anand to address the participants.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Anita Chaudhary, for giving wonderful introduction. And at the outset, I thank Western region of ICSSR and also MV Mandali College of Commerce and Science for organizing such a thematic conference, which is highly relevant for the modern context. And also I thank Dr. Gopal for giving me an opportunity to have a brief sharing of my ideas in this August conference. And I also thank Dr. Smita for giving me an opportunity. And I straight away coming to the subject matter because we have only 10 minutes time. So coming to the subject matter, I think normally when we think about budget, our vision is only 1 year. We are matching current year revenue with current year expenses. But we are today, what we do today should also take us to a long destination to the future. In that particular context, this year budget is exemplary budget, which is going to give energy to the economic growth, not only in the short term, even for the long term. So in that particular context, I will take few points from the internal context as well as international context, and then I will wind up my talk. So coming to the first point, which I liked is increase in public expenditure. In this particular budget, the 7.5 crores has been set aside for public expenditure, which is 35% growth than the previous years. Then what is the impact of this public expenditure at a macro level in the economy? So this is going to give both immediate effect as well as long-term effect. And this 35% jump in public expenditure will be having a multiplier effect on economy. So it is going to generate huge employment opportunity, and which is going to increase the income, consumption, savings, and in turn effective demand in the economy. So all these things going to generate immediately to some extent in some sector, and something is going to take a long-term growth. So for example, if you take the example, this particular budget has given massive opportunity for infrastructure investment. So there are several studies the results indicates that 1 rupee invested in infrastructure is going to generate income of 2.5 rupee in the same year. 1 rupee investment in infrastructure is going to generate income 2.5 rupees income in the same year, which means this budget is going to give a quick growth because of this infrastructure investment. Plus, the focus is also for augmenting private investment. And especially one important thing which is neglected so far is agriculture, technology in agriculture. So this is a need of the hour. So look at the case of Israel and all, which is a small nation, how much contribution they are giving for food economy in the world. Whereas we have a vast land, but still we are behind because we are not using technology, innovation in agriculture. So this year, technology in agriculture sector, especially Kisan drone, land records, are going to give a massive growth not in the immediate effect, in the long term. So this is a very good sign, which will, because we know that the India is, based on rural economy, the growth of rural economy is going to generate a massive growth overall in the economy. So this is a very welcome step by the government of India. So coming to our sector, education sector. So very good emphasis has given in this particular budget, inclusivity in education. Inclusivity in education. The government has set aside 6% of GDP for education in vernacular language 1 to 12th grade. That's a really great step in retaining the talent, especially nowadays. The brain drain is huge. So if we develop education in vernacular language, not only we are going to preserve our language, but also like in other countries, Germany or Japan or China. So the brain drain may not be possible, may not be a big possibility, because we are going to retain the talents locally. And moreover, the government of India has taken a wonderful step of national education policy. And here, I think we are now matching the education system from the traditional mode to the international mode. So we are in a position to compete internationally. So why I'm telling, because recent QS international ranking, World International University ranking. So we can see only 3 universities in top 200 and 7 universities in top 400. So why out of 1,300 ranked universities? See, out of these top 7 universities out of top 400, 6 are repeatedly coming the same universities, same IITs. So why we are not, other universities are not coming? I think this national educational policy, I think it should give a big boost, and the Indian university should be recognized in international ranking and rating. It does not mean that we don't offer quality education. We are not following some international recordings or benchmarks or parameters. I think this national education policy is going to give a good benchmark for maintaining the following international benchmark practices. So setting up of digital university is a very good move in this particular context. So which is going to reduce the digital divide in the country. And even IITs have been going to be started all the states in India, and internationally also the first Dubai campus is going to be started from this academic year. So this is the way the Indian universities are going to be internationalized. That's a very good move. So we have to be internationalized. Like when other universities are coming and opening campuses in another country, we should also, this is a kind of soft power. This is definitely, if Indian university is going to have a campus, it's not only investment generating opportunity, it is also developing a soft power of India in the international market. And coming to new age employment, this is a forgotten sector so far. So there is a huge opportunity in new age employment opportunities, especially we call it AVGC, animation, visual effect, gaming, comic. So these all are the areas. This particular budget has given a big importance for the growth. I think a task force has been set up for AVGC promotion. So this is a good decision from this budget. And coming to our perspective, NRI's perspective, when it comes to NRI's perspective, this union budget also taken care to a few aspects. The most important is e-rupee. So the e-rupee going to be introduced in this financial year. So what is the impact on this one, e-rupee on NRIs? I think it may help for NRIs for the faster remittance at a lower cost. So NRIs remittance may be faster and in real time, plus the transaction cost may also reduce drastically. So this will be a good move. So the government, the nation may receive the money from the NRIs faster, and NRIs can also save money as the transaction cost may come down. So this is what we are expecting. And another important good move for NRIs is e-passport, so which will contain electronic check, and the security check-in and check-out may be more comfortable in the years to come. And plus, from the point of view of detecting those who are violating some norms, it's also easy now. So it has the passport will be embedded with the chip and linkage with the data with the Ministry of External Affairs plus tax authorities. Even if I don't declare income, and if I have some problem is there with my end, that will be detected immediately. This was the case before in most of the other countries. So this is a wonderful the wonderful step from the government in implementing e-governance. And I think I am taking too much time. So I think I have one last point, that is recognition for sunrise opportunity for FDIs. So that's a very good step, especially they have identified a wonderful areas like animation and geospatial system, drones, semiconductors, space economy, genomics, pharmaceuticals, green energy, and clean mobility systems, which have been given thrust for the sustainable development in this budget. I think this is going to attract a huge investments, because there is a China +1 policy is going on world over. So the major thrust for this area will definitely, the government of India may definitely capitalize the China 1 policy with these areas, so that, like as Dr. Sundaram mentioned, This is going to give a big boost for Atmanirbhar Bharat in India. So plus from the side of GCC, I think GCC countries are interested to invest in India, especially in green energy plus infrastructure plus some artificial intelligence areas, which incorporates ESG, environmental, social, and governance system, which is going to incorporate. So finally, the sustainable development of India will focus to what extent ESG theme is imbibed in the policy. So with this, I wish the conference a great success. Thanks for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for highlighting prospective areas of investment like infrastructure, agriculture, technology, green energy, artificial intelligence based on Budget 2022. I also thank you for sharing your valuable thoughts on national education policy, new age employment opportunities, AVGC promotion, e-rupee, NRI remittance, FDI, etc., etc. Thank you, sir. It was enriching to hear you. I would now like to introduce the strong pillar of our institute, Mr. Sanjeeva Kumar Salian, sir. He is chairman of Education Committee, MVM Educational Campus. To give a brief introduction about sir, he had a long stint with a leading national tabloid newspaper publishing house in Mumbai called Spacious. He is specialized in administration, HR and newspaper printing technology. He is elected to managing committee of the Mogavera Vyavasthapak Mandali for the 5th term of 5 years each. He has served as an honorary social worker as vice president for 6 years, followed by 6 years as honorable general secretary. He has rendered honorary services as director for 7 years in the Mogavera Cooperative Bank Limited, which was established by the Mogavera Vyavasthapak Mandali. I extend a warm welcome to you, sir. I now invite Chairman Sir to address the participants. Sir, you're on mute.
Now,
Yes, sir. You're audible.
let me begin again. A wonderful good morning to you all. Our respected Dr. Smita Shuklaji, Director, Western Region Center, ICSSR, Mumbai. Our chief guest of the day, Professor Dr. Sundaram Koriviji. A guest of honor, respected Dr. S. Upadhyayaji, all celebrity speakers on the panel of technical and panel discussion to be followed by. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to have a collaborative conclave on the Union Budget of India in our premises, that is the M.E. Mandali's Colleges for Commerce and Science. Our principal, Dr. Gopal Kalkoti ji and his team have worked very hard on it, along with Dr. Smita ji, to arrange this wonderful event. It's our pleasure that on behalf of the Mogavera Vyavasthapak Mandali, the promoters of the MEM Mandali's Colleges of Commerce and Science, and welcome you all yet again. We take your liberty to address few lines about the Mogavera Vyavasthapak Mandali, a charitable trust which was registered before independence with the Charity Commissioner, Charity Act, and the Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act. About 120 years ago, our forefathers, basically, we hail from Dakshina Kannada, southern part of Karnataka. Our forefathers who hailed from native place to Mumbai in search of better life, education, and earnings, have given us a platform to continue with the yeoman social service work that our forefathers have established. Thereby, they started a pre-night school with a view to provide education to the needy and the poor. Hundreds of students have benefited from this and are well settled in the highest positions in the across globe. The most promising and blessings that we have received for this trust and for us was the visit by Jawaharlal Nehru ji and Dr. Radhakrishnan ji to our pre-night school, which was then managed in the Fort area, the South Mumbai. Since then, the trust has never looked back and continued to provide good education through day school and education to girls through day school, and now a full-fledged campus in the Andheri vicinity of Andheri, Veeradesai Road. Our vision, along with our professionals, principals of various sections, right from pre-primary to degree. The vision we have partly achieved at KG to PG, and the remaining part of our ambition is to set up research center, and our respected principal Dr. Gopal Kalkuti and his team have been vigorously working towards this, and we are sure that in the years ahead that we shall establish a research center, thereby under one shelter, providing quality and reasonably cost-effective education to the poor and the needy from KG to PG and to PG to research center. We social workers render honorary services framing policies and guidelines for managing the campus, besides promoting art, culture, sports, and extending socio-economic financial benefits to the needy and the poor. That is the philosophy that our forefathers have set for us, and we try our best to continue with the same. We from the bottom of our heart are highly obliged to the Western Regional Center, Indian Council of Social Science Research, that is ICSSR, for according us an opportunity, that is through the MV Mandali's College of Commerce and Science to jointly organize collaborative online conclave on the Union Budget 2022. We look forward, Dr. Smita Madam, we look forward to have a strong and mutually beneficial association with the ICSR and jointly organize more and more knowledge sharing events from time to time. We wish, on behalf of the Mandali, this conclave a huge success, and thank all the dignitaries who spoke so beautifully just a while ago, Dr. Sundaram Kovirji and Dr. Anand Upadhyay, and the celebrity speakers who are going to participate in the technical session 1, 2, 3, and followed by discussion. We conclude with this, with thanking ICSSR and our principal, Dr. Kalkoti and his team, for according us an opportunity to present the Mogavira Vyavasthapaka Mandali for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for making us aware about wonderful organization Mogavira Vyavasthapaka Mandali and its social work through decades. To conclude the inaugural session, I now invite Dr. Seema Rawat, Vice Principal of MV Mandali's Colleges of Commerce and Science, to propose vote of thanks and take the program forward. I, Ms. Anita Chaudhary, sign off for this session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anita. So, good morning, respected ladies and gentlemen, and all dignitaries. It gives me immense pleasure to propose vote of thanks to all respected guests and dignitaries of inaugural session. I extend my heartfelt thanks to our chief guest of the day, chief guest of inaugural session, Dr. Sundaram Kovirji, who highlighted not only on the micro and macro aspects of the budget, even the other aspects like economic cycle, investment in India, and many other initiatives taken by government. I'm also happy to extend my sincere thanks to our guest of honor of the day, Dr. Anand, for focusing on the vision and future of this budget and the future of India from the perspective of this budget. Sir has very rightly pointed out the various percentage increase in the public expenditure, employment income, and how it will create a positive impact in growth and development of our country. Sir, this budget was really, I mean, the day when it was announced, we were not able to understand the in-depth impact of this budget in days to come and the future of India, but you have made it very simplified and highlighted the important and focus point. Thanks for that, sir. We are very much grateful to Dr. Smita and Director ICSSR, Western Region Director ICSSR. Without Madam's support and guidance, this conclave would have not been possible because she was a guiding force behind this. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving our college this opportunity. It's a big collaboration and big opportunity for us. And we have taken full benefit of this opportunity you have given to us. Special thanks to our Shri Sanjeeva K. Salianji, Chairman, Education Committee of MEM Trust, for gracing the occasion. Thank you so much, sir. You have been there with us, even a minor or a major program. Thanks for your support and guidance throughout the years. And last but not the least, the captain of ship, our leader, Dr. Gopal Kalkoti, sir, has been working very hard and guiding us from the beginning, how to make this program successful, and minute-to-minute program schedule we were working since last 2-3 days. Hopefully this program will be a huge success at the end of the day. So with this, I would thank all the resource person and dignitaries for the inaugural session. And then now in the program schedule, we will be moving forward to the technical session 1. And we have 3 resource persons with us to chair the technical session 1. We have with us, just a minute. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Actually, yeah, so our first resource person will be joining a little late. So I'll just announce the name of resource person for technical session 1. Mr. Robin Banerjee, he'll be joining us a little late. And the second resource person is Dr. Parashuman Patil. And the third resource person is Dr. Venkatachalam Shumangamji. So, sir, first of all, welcome to all the resource person. I would like to introduce Dr. Parashuram Patilji first. Okay, Robin sir is there. Okay, so yeah, so sir is right here. So I will start with our first resource person, Robin Banerjee, sir. Can I have the slide?
Ramanji, welcome to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, Robin Banerjee, Mr. Robin Banerjee is the manager of Apprehense India Limited. Earlier, he has served several multinational global corporations in the senior leadership positions, including few of them are Hindustan and Unilever. As a GM, he was there. And ArcelorMittal Germany as the MD, Thomas Cook as the executive director. He was a part of SS Steel as an executive director, and also he was a part of Suzlon Energy as a CFO and member of board. Adding to this, Robin sir is also a chartered accountant, cost accountant, company secretary, and MCOM. Robin sir is also recipient of several business awards, including Rotary International Award for Ethical Businessman of the Year 2018-19. He is also chairman and Confederations of Indian Industry CII, Western India for Finance and Taxation Committee and co-chairman of ESG Committee. He is a member of Board of Studies for Independent and also independent director, Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. He is also in the board of SME Chamber of India and independent director in several companies and serves in the board of several education and management institutions. He has authored 3 business non-fictional bestsellers, and 3 of them are as follows. Corporate Fraud, Bigger, Broader, Bolder, which is published by Amazon as a bestseller. Who Cheats and How, which is published in 2015, which is available in English, Hindi, and Marathi language, again a bestseller by Amazon. And the another book, which is published in 2019, is Who Blundered and How. Sir, we would give you a warm welcome for the technical session 1. Welcome to you, sir, on behalf of MB Mandali's Colleges of Commerce and Science and ICSSRT. Sir, over to you. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm supposed to talk to you on budget. And normally budgets are discussed within 1 minute of the budget being presented. And within the 5-10 minutes, everything what has to be said on budget has already been stated. And after 2 days, nobody even think there is something called budget. Now, of course, we are discussing this almost about 45 days after. And the biggest question now is, what should I say which you don't know? And do I know anything which you don't know? One. Number two, is there anything which has not been stated and talked about, which you have not read or has not been discussed and debated? And therefore, I'm going to address this whole issue quite differently. I'm going to explain to you, my dear friends, a concept, and I have, I think, 10 minutes. So let me see whether I can complete in these 10 minutes. A concept, perhaps, either you have not heard, or perhaps it has not been discussed, perhaps. Now, what is a budget? Budget is essentially a strategy statement of a government that how is the government wanting to run the country for the next year. So why is it all of us fall over each other to understand the budget? Because we believe that let's see whether the government is trying to focus on housing, focus on health, focus on education, focus on railways, focus on hospitals, whatever. Now, what does the government want to do? What is the government's objective? Any government in the world, the government may be a democratic government, it's an autocratic government, a monarchy, doesn't matter. Any government in the world wants to enhance the happiness of the people. So the primary objective of the government is to enhance the happiness of people. How does the government enhance happiness of people? To telling jokes? Will they start telling jokes, send WhatsApp messages, send wonderful pictures? That's not happiness of people. Happiness of people comes from our income. If government can enhance your income, we will be all happy. We are all doing whatever we are doing. We want to enhance our income. How do we income? What is that income? What do we enhance the income? Broadly speaking, the way to enhance the income is to enhance the per capita income of the country. Per capita, not the GDP, but the per capita. That means every individual, what does an individual earn? What does a per capita income earn? So that's the objective. The objective of any government is to enhance the happiness of people. And one way to enhance the happiness of people, not one way, perhaps the most important way, and perhaps that is 80-90% of all the happiness quotient, is enhance the per capita income. Very nice. So far, so good. Now the question here is that let me give you a small little theory. Let us assume that the income of a country is concentrated in one individual. Income of a country is concentrated into one individual. That means pura desh ka income ek aadmi ka paas hai. This is complete concentration of wealth. Definitely per capita income has not increased. And obviously people will be unhappy. And there is a coefficient for that. If income of the country is concentrated in one individual, there is something called a Gini coefficient, G-I-N-I. Some of you may have heard of this. Gini coefficient is equivalent to 1.0. That means income of all individuals is concentrated into one person. The Gini coefficient is 1.0. The opposite, completely opposite. If everybody's income is same, everybody, Raja said, Tesal, that everybody's income is same, then the Gini coefficient becomes 0. So the Gini coefficient of any country has to be either between 1 or 0. There is no country in the world where Gini coefficient is 1, because no country in the world where every income is one individual. 1 किसी हो ही नहीं सकता है. There is no country in the world where the Gini coefficient is 0 because everybody is equal. It's not possible. But what does the government want to do? If the government wants to make everybody's per capita income higher, which means everybody will become happy, the objective of any government is to make the Gini coefficient near 0, as close to 0 as possible. Have you understood, my dear friends? And if you don't, if you haven't, of course, you can put it in your chat box or just unmute yourself and ask a question. To give you an example, the Gini coefficient of Belgium, for instance, just to give you an example, where it is quite an egalitarian society, people are more or less equal. The Gini coefficient of Belgium is 0.2324, 0.2. So it is not exactly 0, but little more than 0, but far away from 1. Which is, Belgium is noted as one of the most equalized society where almost everyone is equal. Is one of the most, one of the best societies which have been able to do this. A country where Gini coefficient is close to 1 is South Africa. The Gini coefficient is about 0.7, 0.7. 0.2 is Belgium, 0.7 is South Africa. So more or less, you see, as you know, the world has about 210 countries. All the countries' Gini coefficient is not found. Plus, there is not really every year, there is nobody who's doing it. But as and when they do this Gini coefficient, and I'm taking the figures from The Economist magazine because that's more credible. I wouldn't say most credible, but more credible. That more or less says that South Africa is close to 1, which means very unequal society, quite unequal society. There are unequal society means the difference between rich and the poor is very large. And Belgium, the difference between rich and the poor is very, very small. So far, so good. Now, every government's objective, let me tell you, is to bring the Gini coefficient close to 0. Now, the question here is, what do you think India is? You will ask, Acha, abhi India kya hai batao? But before India, the question is, Acha, China kya hai batao? China soon lete, uske baad China kharab hai, to we feel a little better than that, it's all okay. So I know it's a virtual program. We are not face to face. It's difficult to have a conversation. It would have been nice if we had face to face and had a conversation. The China Gini coefficient is about 0.58, 0.57, 0.58. So around that, it is not contrary to the popular belief that everyone is equal in China. It is not true. China is a highly capitalist country, extreme capitalist country for your information, a high level of corruption and bribery there. And I have been in board member of China for long, and I know how the society works, but be as it may, we will not get into that. It's around 0.56, 0.57. Now, to cut the long story short, what is India? I would love all of you to think, what should be the India? Many of you will think, oh, higher than China hoga, lower than China hoga. The good news is that the India figure is lower than China. You'll be surprised to know. And India is around 0.52 to 0.54. If you do a Google search, and please don't do it now, you will see figures of 0.8 and all. To my mind, these are not credible numbers, and therefore I'm taking figures from The Economist magazine. Somebody can do anything because it's very unchallenged number. So Google anti doesn't mean anything. All figures are correct, but be as it may, India is around 0.52, 0.53. So far, so good. Time being short, I have already covered, I think, 8 or 9 minutes. Now, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, the objective of a government is to make the Gini coefficient near 0. That means the objective of the central government is to make it less than 0.5. But the economists, and many of you are economists on this call, the economists do not know how to make Gini coefficients. They don't know. That's the problem. If anybody would have known, the government would have followed it, because government's objective is to make people happy. So people would have done, chalo, theek hai, aisa kar lete hain. However, based on some sort of analysis of the past, it seems that if the government does 3 things, there is a bright chance of Gini coefficient becoming close to or coming down, Gini coefficient coming down. What are those 3 things? One is, and which perhaps is common sense, is provide employable education to people. Employable education to people. So this is common sense. If people get employable education, everyone will start earning, and therefore Gini coefficient will slowly start coming down, which is the objective of any government. Number two is, this one will surprise you. This one will surprise you. Is a credible pension scheme for the retired people, people who are aged, a pension scheme. And that's, you will be surprised that this something really helps, because after the age of 65, 70, people are not having earnings. And if there is a large medical expense, or if there is a child has to get married, all the life saving can get wiped out. And if there is no pension, and that again creates a difference between the rich and the poor. The second. And the third one, which again will not surprise you, is provide infrastructure. Infrastructure. If infrastructure is provided, industries come out, manufacturing comes out, people have commercial activities, people can go from one place to another, people can transport, so on and so forth, infrastructure. Now, if these three can happen, Gini coefficient will come down, which means people will become happy. Ladies and gentlemen, to look at the budget is through Gini coefficient eyes, my dear friends. Let us look our budget, which has been just produced 45 days back. Did it tackle these three issues? If it has, it's a good budget. If it is not, then it's not a good budget. Finished, over. Well, more or less, isn't it? More or less. More or less. What best can one do in 10 minutes, isn't it? So let's look at the education. You will find, if you take the last year's budget and this year's budget, a lot of thrust has gone into education. And this year's budget particularly, the thrust has gone to the agricultural education. If you look at rural education, agricultural education, they have also started a virtual university. They also are going to put a virtual, which to my mind is a great step. That will definitely take education to the masses. At least it should. They are also starting 200 channels through which education will be now brought to television to the masses. Again, education, very, very, to my mind, very innovative ways of reaching this vast multitude of people, 135 crore. To my mind, I will give good marks for working on education. Second, pension scheme. Unfortunately, this is where the problem lies. Last year, if you look at the last year's budget, all of you, of course, have forgotten, a pension scheme was announced for the unorganized workers. Workers on the road, jo hamara rasta clean kar rahe hain, people who are taking the garbage. So the unorganized worker, there are 4 crores of them in the country. To my mind, the number is much higher, but 4 crores is what they were targeting. But actually, if you ask the road man on the road, aapka pension hai ki nahi, bolega, aapko batayega, no, I don't have. So while there is a scheme, the dissemination of knowledge or dissemination of this pension scheme to the masses has not happened. And that should have been focused upon in this budget. Unfortunately, there is nothing. So I would give poor marks for this. Infrastructure. Infrastructure, I told you, is the third thing. This budget has announced 11 lakh crore, ladies and gentlemen, 10 lakh 60,000 crore. You will see 7 lakh 50,000 crore being uttered, but actually it is 10 lakh 60,000 crore, because there are some loans which state government will take for bringing in infrastructure. This budget is a 39 lakh crore budget. Out of, let's say, 40 lakh crore, out of that 10 lakh crore, if it is really spent on infrastructure, 25% of our expenditure, just imagine the impact. Infrastructure has 5x, yes, 5 times implication on employment and GDP growth. So huge implication on infrastructure. So out of the 3, education has been addressed, pension while addressed but not sold, but infrastructure has happened. And therefore, to my mind, ladies and gentlemen, this budget really does focus on your and my happiness. And if your and my happiness is happening, then I would give good marks to the effort with the budget or the system is done. So I believe it was a good budget, did focus on the right stuffs. I hope they listen to all of us and do something for the pension scheme soon. But that's all what I had to say. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I have over my time.
Thank you. Thank you, Robinji. With all the inconveniences, Robin sir is traveling with all the inconveniences. He has made it. So we owe you to Robinji. Thank you very much for joining and guiding us in a simple, lucid manner what the budget is all about. Thank you so much. Grateful to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Now moving to our next resource person, I would like to introduce Dr. Parasaman Patilji. Dr. Parasaman Patil sir is an Indian agriculture economist, writer, and the prestigious NMML Fellow, that is Nehru Memorial Museum and Library, Government of India. He is former advisor, consultant to national and international bodies such as Asian Development Bank, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Agricultural Processed Food and Export Development Authority, NABARD Consultancy Service Private Limited, Startup India, Gramin Vikas Trust, Agricultural Development Trust, Global Forum for Rural Advisory Services, Switzerland, Quality Council of India, Bureau Veritas. He is also a chairman of the Institute of Natural Resources, CMD Flori Agro Exports LLP. His research includes various key areas. Few of them are implications on developing country interest, forest accountancy, climate change, and he has also published various national and international journals. He has been also an advisor for policy making to Indian government. He has frequently interacted with the Indian government and corporate sectors involving the agricultural business, forestry, climate change, farmers groups, and civil society organizations. Sir, it's a matter of honor for us that such a great person is with us as a resource person. Sir, we welcome you. Over to you, sir. Kindly address the gathering. I request sir to take over further.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and all the faculty members. I am supposed to talk on agriculture and budget. So when we talk about Indian economy and budget, so we will always find that agriculture is very crucial. Why it is very crucial? Because India is an agriculture dominated economy. 58 to 60% population of our country is directly dependent on agriculture. So how much people? Almost 88, 90 crore people. If you see again the workforce, 54 to 60% workforce is directly involved in the agriculture. So without thinking of the agriculture holistically, it's very difficult to talk about Indian economy. So if the Indian agriculture economy do well, then and then only Indian economy do well, because lot of chunk of our population, lot of our resources, lot of our assets are belong to agriculture. So when we talk about this, then what is in this budget for agriculture? What the government's thought process? What was the thought behind what are the provisions the government made for the different sector of agriculture? So we will see some of the key points of it. If we divided agriculture economy, we see there are 3-4 parts, like a cultivation, processing, and the marketing, which includes domestic as well as export. In that 4-part, entire agriculture economy has been set up. So if you see in this budget, the government has tried to include something new. They tried to develop some window which will have a long-term impact on agriculture, which was not there in earlier budget. So what that we will see one by one. The first provision government of India regarding MSP. So MSP in India is always in debate issue, whether should go to MSP, whether should not go to MSP. There are different opinions of it. So in this budget, a lot of money government has spent on MSP for the direct benefit transfer to directly to the farmers to cover the MSP. That is 2.37 lakhs. But the issue is that it is in the largest into the farmer, but the majority of the chunk of this budget is directly going for this chunk of MSP for the cash benefit transfer, and less amount of money is left for the fundamental development of agriculture. For example, infrastructure. For example, research and development. So that is the second. India wants to develop a agriculture ecosystem hub especially for the startups. So that's why Government of India has different schemes. This scheme called RQI. So Government of India want more and more of startup in the agriculture sector. That's why they have told the NABARD to develop a separate fund for the agri startups. So this is the one of the very important announcement, because India is going to become a export startup destination in near future. So to fulfill that dream, the Government of India is trying to develop this ecosystem. Third, agroforestry. India is the top 10 forest rich country in the entire world. So we have a lot of forestry resources, a lot of agroforestry. So government is also taking this agroforestry issue in this budget. Then most important, one of the sector is growing, that is organic. The way people are aware about the nutritious food, the way people are aware about the health benefits, day by day, there is a growing demand for organic foods within India, outside India. So in this budget, Government of India is also focused to cover that organic budget, how to set up an entire domestic as well as export supply chain of organic food. Then India is also rural in the context of connecting the sometimes still reach to the market, the farmers stuff goes best because it is some of them is perishable. So the Government of India try to develop that by connecting good road, good infrastructure at the rural level. So that wastage. Government of India they want to see what is the health of the soils. They want to use drone. They want to use what the pesticide, so that the loss of the crops will be minimized. And she wants to go to public-private basis, PPP mode. So technology, Government of India wants to bring the technology in this. Then Government of India is also thinking to give good agriculture practices, to promote agriculture practice, and while the active support agriculture university, Government of India wants to change the syllabus also, so that whatever the syllabus is there, whatever the course curriculum there is, with the what is the required at the field level. Then one of the important thing while considering the sustainable agriculture, holistic development, nutrition, health, Government of India is also promoting the chemical-free farming, because nowadays health of the soil is that directly comes to our food. So Government of India wants that we want to maintain the health of the soil, we want to reduce down the chemical fertilizer. So the Government of India in this budget trying to promote a chemical-free farming. Then Government of India is trying to come with some of the different schemes. For example, per drop, more crop, Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, National Project on Soil Nutrition, Rainfed Area Development and Climate Change, Crop Residue Management. So in nutshell, Government of India through this budget try to reorient agriculture rather than just giving a subsidy, rather than just giving the more amount of money. They want to change the approach. For example, every year Government of India or India as a whole, we import 90% our whatever edible we consume, 90% is imported. So we need a huge amount of oilseed production here. So Government of India through this budget come with the oilseed mission, edible oilseed mission. So a lot of things like that Government of India is trying to think agriculture. So one thing is clear, this agriculture budget is, if we compare to the previous year budget, there is not much hike, but the direction of this budget is a little bit changing. The direction of budget is just not what is the thing or what is the problem right now facing with the Government of India, the Indian agriculture sector. They want the agriculture to go one step ahead. That's why the chemical farming, that's why the zero-based farming, that's why the use of irrigations, that's the use of water resource management, organic farming, sustainable agriculture, the impact of these soil health. So these all will create a long-term impact on this agriculture. So this is the beginning to see the agriculture in a different way. So, but the one thing maybe say it is lacking in this budget, a lot of money is directly 80% of money is spent on the cash crop or cash kind of schemes. Less amount of money, just 20 to 25% is left for the fundamental things, for the research and development. For example, infrastructure development. For example, course curriculum in agriculture. If that amount of money, we have to be spent sizable amount of money for the fundamental research or fundamental things in the agriculture. But this budget has given a clear-cut agenda that the Indian agriculture economy is changing. Indian agriculture economy is changing from the traditional base. So we are moving towards the chemical-free farming. We are moving towards the we are welcoming the technology in the agriculture. We are welcoming the private players in the agriculture. We are trying to develop the rural infrastructure, and we want to create this to the market. So a lot of things are in the agriculture. Agriculture is so complex because it has a lot of stakeholders, and every stakeholder is dynamic. But this budget has given a hope that in near future, agriculture is going one step ahead with this kind of provision. I think my time is over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us on how agriculture can take and give a boost to the Indian economy. Because बचपन से हम पढ़ते आए कि India is a agricultural country, and we were having a perception that we are still a developing country, a poor country, but yes, agriculture can give a boost to our economy. Thanks for covering that aspect. I would like to introduce our next resource person, Dr. Venkatachalam Shungamandi. Sir is a PhD in agricultural economics from Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi in 1997. Sir is having a 22 years of experience, and he was last associated with Multi-Commodity Exchange of India Private Limited as a head research and index administration. He has also associated with various financial organizations. Few of them I would like to name here. One is Namura Research Institute, FinTech India Private Limited, MSCI Private Limited, and he was also a part of United States Department of Agriculture. Sir, thank you so much for being with us today, and we welcome you on behalf of MBM College and ICSSR team. So, sir, the session is open for the further discussion. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Seema, for that wonderful introduction that you'd given about me. Good morning, everyone. And first of all, let me thank Professor Smita Shukla, Professor Gopal Kalkoti, Team MEM, and ICSSR Western Regional Council for providing me with this opportunity to talk to you about the impact of the budget on the financial sector as a whole, actually. So if we have to talk about the financial market, so probably there are various sectors in the financial market, and the budget has policy for each and every sector. The budget has tax proposals for each and every sector. So that will become a big one. Rather, let me concentrate financial sector as a whole, actually. So having got the introduction about what the budget is all about from Mr. Banerjee and the previous speaker, Dr. Patel, about how the budget is looking at agriculture. So how the budget is looking at finance, actually. So as an economist, that I would look at the budget as a statement of income. That is to say that what are the taxes that the government is trying to levy, what are the taxes that the government is trying to reduce, what are the taxes that the government is trying to increase. So the equality in the income, which Mr. Banerjee had talked about, the tax is a tool by which this can be brought about in a way. The second, so the government is not only earning its income in terms of the taxes, the government is also spending money in terms of for the next 1 year or the next few years, what are the expenditures that I'm willing to make. So those commitments are being made as part of the budget, actually. So if you look at the budget maybe about a decade and a half ago, essentially the budget was dominated by the statement of income and expenses, actually. But in the last 1 or 1.5 decade or so, as indicated by the previous speakers, is that it's been a policy reforms guide. That means, what is to be done to guide the country towards the future economic growth, actually. Okay, so having said that, this budget is being prepared and announced on the back of pandemic and 2 years of slower economic growth, lost economic opportunities, increasing energy prices, the crude oil prices, the choked supply chain. That basically means internationally we are disconnected in terms of trade, both domestic and global, decreasing revenues and increasing expenditure, especially to take care of the pandemic impacted families, the individuals, leading to increasing fiscal deficit, increasing NPAs of the banking system, and the challenge of kickstarting the pandemic impacted economy. So this is in nutshell about where we are positioned at in terms of what the government has to target actually. So having said that, actually, so the budget has been a silver line that I would say that that it focuses on key 4 areas. One, as it had been, the government had been talking about Make in India and Atmanirbhar India. So the budget focuses on domestic manufacturing, digitization, rural upliftment, and planned urbanization. So these are the 4 key focus areas of the budget as such, actually. So let me come to the first proposal, which is tax proposal, as it impacts the financial sector. So as you all would have aware, so whenever you get into a web page, whenever you are trying to watch a serial on the television or something, you never watch this one, which has been coming off late, which is in an advertisement for coin DCX or a crypto platform or a crypto coin or whatever it is. So that's become increasingly being visible in the Indian media actually. So what actually stirred up this higher level of publicity, our aspirations for higher level of publicity, is just this one simple measure which the budget has come up with actually. So this, you have to look at it from the background of around 10.5 million investors had invested roughly about 75,000 crores on virtual digital assets. And these virtual digital assets include cryptocurrencies, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and other digital assets, which are form of this cryptocurrency. And these would be taxable with this budget at the rate of 30% without any deduction except for the cost of acquisition. So loss, if any, cannot be offset with the profit that one would earn from that. In addition to that, the exchanges are supposed to keep the TDS, tax deduction at source, so that the tax officials would be able to identify who is participating, and the participant is actually paying the 30% for the transfer of the assets, with virtual digital assets that he is getting involved in or not actually. So it's not only transfer on the market, even the gifting of virtual digital assets is also proposed to be taxed in the hands of the recipient actually. So this is a welcome statement in one sense, and this is also a non-welcome statement in another sense actually, which is to say that with this backdrop, one should note that in 2017, an interdisciplinary committee set up by the central government had recommended a ban on the trading and possession of cryptocurrencies. So there was a ban in banking, so those customers who are dealing in crypto services actually. So it was like a complete closure of the doors for the cryptocurrencies actually. And the Supreme Court in its judgment in March 2020, which has been litigated for the last 1.5 to 2 years before 2020, overturned the RBI's 2018 circular mentioning that in the absence of any legislative ban on the buying and selling of cryptocurrencies, the RBI cannot impose any disproportionate restrictions on trading in these currencies actually. So what's the moot question over here? Cryptos are assets? Obviously, it looks like, from the taxes that have been imposed, and is it trying to give a legal position to cryptocurrencies? It looks like, it is, providing a legal position to cryptocurrencies actually. So having said that, government also went ahead, as it was explained in the earlier session, went ahead and introduced the digital rupee concept actually, which is CBDC, central bank digital coin actually. So that basically means every rupee that you hold will be held at the with the balance with the central bank actually, as it is a central bank issued digital currency actually. So the moot question is cryptos are assets. That's what is being claimed by the investors. That's what being claimed by various owners of crypto exchanges actually. So having said that, that's one of the reasons why cryptos want to occupy more of your attention space, either on the websites or on the digital media. So they are increasingly occupying the attention of the viewers on either of the media actually. So that's one part. So it has stirred up debate whether cryptos are assets. The second one is that RBI will introduce the digital rupee. So at the same time, why don't you participate in central bank digital currency rather than cryptocurrencies actually. So having said that, there is a difference between central bank digital currency and a cryptocurrency. For those of you who are novices, just wanted to say that cryptocurrencies are not fiat currencies issued by the central bank. These are currencies which are issued to the miners on the blockchain who match the trade between the buyers and the seller through a hard algorithm, and they are currencies, which is your Bitcoin, which is your any other cryptocurrency, that is Ethereum or Dogecoin, DOGCOIN. So these are currencies which are being given to the miners actually. So they sell it out in the market. When they sell it out market, the buyers go behind these currencies actually. So it's actually the demand and the supply of these cryptocurrencies which determine the value of the cryptocurrencies. But here, the value of the fiat currency, the rupee, is going to determine the value of the CBDC, or the central bank digital currency actually. So CBDC is a digital form of that currency which can be transacted using wallets backed by blockchain and is regulated by the central bank, and it enables the user to conduct both domestic and cross-border transactions which do not require a third party or a bank. So having said that, that's going to change the entire ecosystem, how people save money, how people or the institutions intermediate the money between the borrowers and the people who want to take risk, which is the entrepreneurs actually. So there are people willing to lend, people willing to invest, and there are people willing to start enterprises. There are people willing to borrow for their businesses or the enterprises. So how would that be intermediated? That's a key question that central banks are looking on, how this can be done. So that's until that is resolved, I believe that digital currency or the central bank digital coin is going to be a policy measure on the works until how this currency is being intermediated between the savers and the investors and the borrowers on the other side actually. Okay, so there is another big announcement that has been part of the budget, which is not got the attention of much of the media. Is the 1.5 lakh post offices in India are set to be connected to the core banking system in FY 22-23, which is the coming financial year starting from April 22 to March 23 actually. So this will enable financial inclusion, which has been a key debating subject, that finance cannot discriminate people. Finance cannot increase the Gini coefficient, which Mr. Banerjee was talking about actually. So post offices going and setting up banks at the rural areas actually will enable each and everybody, even in the rural areas, to access the banking products and the investment avenues that the bank is going to prepare, put up at the rural areas. So mind it, today we have about a 1.5 lakh post offices in the rural areas. So having said that, we have about 7.5 lakh villages. So almost like 1 in 5 villages will be presented with a post office or a post office bank actually. So they will have mobile banking, net banking, ATMs, and online transfer of funds actually. So what has been the ease of financial transaction in the urban areas and the suburb in the class, tier 2 and tier 3 cities is going to become, an enabler in the rural areas as well. Okay. Another measure which is also got a lesser attention of the media is, which is going to give up a great fillip to the digitalization of banking and financial inclusion, is the measure to actually set up 75 digital banking units as part of the Azadi Ka Amrut festival that is being celebrated in view of the 75th year of independence, actually. So 75 digital banking units will be set up in 75 districts of the country by the scheduled commercial banks, and this is going to push ahead financial inclusion, and the banks might see an improved access to liabilities pooled from newer consumer resources in those geographies, actually. So another important measure which has been announced as part of the budget, which is also something which you should all be aware about, is that the green bonds. So India has been a signatory to COP26, and the Prime Minister had announced the measures to move towards the net zero concept in 2070. So net zero is nothing but like whatever that you emit is whatever that you are going to absorb it back from the atmosphere. So there is no net greenhouse gas accumulation in the atmosphere. So that's what is all net zero is about. But the Prime Minister has announced an ambitious target to meet it at 2070. But at the speed at which we are going, it looks like we will be meeting much before that. So from that perspective, green bonds is in another significant initiative which is going to develop awareness about, the greenness initiatives of the government, the businesses, and the ESG initiatives of the various listed companies and things like that. So to tell you, about the significance of the green bonds, globally, green bonds have been the fast gaining popularity, with the database named Climate Bonds Market Intelligence, which is putting the numbers behind the green bond market size at around 517 billion, means $500 billion of US dollars in 2021. So that much amount of borrowing had happened to fund green initiatives, actually. So India in the global list is at the distant 17th position amongst the green bond issuing nations, maybe with this first green bond, which is a sovereign green bond, which is being issued by India. I think a lot more corporates, a lot more bankers is going to tap this market, actually, which is climate-related debt market, to increase and to help India to reach the carbon neutral scenario by 2070, actually. So with this, these are few of the significant financial measures that I wanted to bring into your kind attention. So in addition to that, in an effort to reduce the fiscal deficit, the government may put on block a few more PSUs, and the fear of the market has been that it may crowd out the IPOs, actually. But on the other hand, as an economist, that I see the lower interest rate scenario, the higher liquidity which has been infused by the global developing country central banks, actually. So that is going to flow in more of DII and FII investment into the market, because more or less people are looking at not FDs, or at least in the tier 2, tier 3 cities and the urban areas. They are looking at either directly participating in the market, or they are looking at participating in the mutual funds, actually. So to that extent, we'll see some space left out for even the other new age companies to come and list in the markets, actually. Considering this, I would like to state in this budget, the government has put in many digital enablers and paths to clean development, and it has been given a great start by the government. The larger context that India could leapfrog is that it would be a digital finance leader nation and would have an ecosystem combination of open network digital commerce. So ONDC is another measure that is going to connect all the producers in India, maybe on Flipkart, maybe on Amazon, but the other platform that one can have access, which is an open network for digital commerce and open network credit enablement network. So it's not only that you can sell your products, it's also that you can access the open credit enablement network to raise funds, actually. All of this is backed by a blockchain enabled financial system, a digital rupee, and efficient UPI. Finally, the green transition. So this could make India a true digital finance state, and hopefully without any digital divides, that could marginalize anyone from participating in the citizenship that benefits from a state, what India as a state can provide. Few of the unexpected scenarios which are dogging the policymakers currently, which is high commodity prices, including the high energy prices, the Ukraine-Russia conflict, which is actually causing the high commodity prices, and the impact on Indian trade may have a marginal impact on the budget numbers that you have to watch out for actually. However, assuming that the conflict will end soon, to the benefit of not only the global economy, but also the citizens of Ukraine and citizens of Russia, it will open up trade avenues soon, and I hope India will come out much stronger. With this, I thank the organizers for this wonderful opportunity and wish you all a great webinar full of takeaways as knowledge, concepts, and topics for research. Thank you very much.
Superb, superb. Venkatachalam, sir. Nice, nice. Very lucid and simple.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you all, resource person of technical session 1, sir, Dr. Venkatachalamji. Thank you so much for enlightening on the various financial aspects and especially the undiscovered area of digital currency. Thank you so much. So now I would like to invite Assistant Professor Divesh Nagarajaji. He is PSC IT Coordinator at MBM College. Sir, over to you to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, Seema Madam. I, Mr. Divesh Nagaraj, thank Dr. Robin Banerjee for explaining concept of how the government would run the country, highlighting the factors affecting happiness of people, Gini coefficient. I also thank Dr. Parshram Patil for highlighting factors like MSB, organic food sector. I also thank Dr. Venkatachalam Mugam for highlighting on tax parameters, fiscal deficit, NPS, and crypto exchange. Thank you.
Now we will be taking this session. We have come to the end of technical session 1, and the next session will be technical session 2, where we will be having panel discussion. We have 3 panel members for the discussion and deliberations on Union Budget 2022. 3 panel panelists are Dr. Medha Tapiawala, Dr. B.H. Nagu, and Dr. Pankaj Trivedi. It's my honor and privilege to introduce all these 3 dignitaries. So let me start with Dr. Medha. Dr. Medha Tapiawala, she is doctorate in economics on banking and productivity. Madam is also former director of Garwari Institute of Career Education and Development. Presently, she is working as a professor in economics at University of Mumbai in Mumbai School of Economics and Public Policy. She has also been appointed as a public interest director at Indian Clearing Corporation of India, subsidiary of BSC. Madam has also published many research papers in national and international journals in various areas like women empowerment, microfinance, entrepreneurship, higher education, climate change, and many more. Dr. Tapiawala has also published and written books. 2 prominent, one of them are banking productivity, and the another one is the recent one, that's COVID-19 climate change and environmental costs. She has also completed many research projects, minor and major research projects, which is funded by the ICSSR. She has also worked on a project on happiness index of an educational institution and prepared a report for the same. Madam, we welcome you on the board for panel discussion. Our other panel member is Dr. B.H. Nagur. Dr. B.H. Nagur is PhD holder from University of Pune. He is presently working as a chairman of Department of Economics, Karnataka University. He has also published more than 30 research papers in peer-reviewed journals, and he has also edited many books of national and international level. He has presented more than 50 papers in the conference at seminars and delivers more than 60 lectures at the various national and international platforms. He is a member of Board of Studies of Bangalore B.R. Ambedkar School of Economics. Sir has also received many awards. Few of them I would like to highlight. The Fellowship for Young Research Scholars, which is given by Center for Training Development, New Delhi, The another award on the roll is Sir Ratan Tata Visiting Fellowship 2007, which is given by Institute of Social and Economic Change, Bangalore, to undertake a research project. Adding to this, Sir has also received Wallinger DC Pivot Memorial Fellowship 2012 to carry out a research relating to India's business at Judge Business Schools and University of Cambridge, that is UK. And he has also been a part of a best research publication in social science 2050, which is offered by the Karnataka University, Dharwad. Sir, we are honored and it's our privilege that you are there as a panelist today on board. Coming to our next panelist, we have with us Dr. Pankaj Trivedi. Trivedi ji is a professor and he is currently working as a Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Business Studies with the Somaya Vidya Vihar Institute, that's Mumbai. He is having an expertise in the area of, he is also in the area of Chairperson of Department of Finance and Law, and he is a program coordinator of MBA program at KJ Somaya Institute of Management. Talking about his academics, I feel very proud and privileged to have that he has done his PhD in Business Policy and Administration and 2 masters in Banking and Economics and Political Science from University of Mumbai. He is also associated with the Indian Institute of Banking and Finance. Sir has guided, Sir is a recognized guide in Somaya Vidya Vihar University, University of Mumbai and SNDT University. He has successfully guided 8 PhD and 3 MPhil scholars. He is also having a vast experience of corporate training. He has conducted various training programs for the corporate officials in public and private sector. Coming to his awards and recognition, Sir is awarded as a best teacher for finance by Higher Education Forum jointly with the Bombay Stock Exchange, and is also awarded with the Distinguished Service Award by AIMS International. Sir, on behalf of MVM College and ICSSR, we welcome you on the board. Now, taking the session further, we will start with the panel discussion. Along with the 3 panel members, Dr. Kalkoti will be there to coordinate the panel discussion and taking it further. I invite Dr. Kalkoti to start with the panel discussion. Sir, over to you.
Thank you.
I'm unable to hear.
Yeah. Good morning and
Good morning.
yeah, welcome to Dr. Medha Tapiawala, Dr. B.H. Nagur from Dharwad, Dr. Pankaj Trivedi from Mumbai, Medha from Mumbai. Yeah, the framework of this panel discussion is like this. First, I would request each of the panelists to make their points. Whatever topic is given to them, in and around they can talk. Like, for example, Dr. Medha will be talking about hospitality and health in the budget. Dr. Nagur will be talking about overview of budget in trade and industry. And of course, Dr. Pankaj Trivedi will be talking about the implication on banking of the budget 22. So I request each one of you to take 8 to 10 minutes to make your points. And the remaining time, we will have a nice interaction with all the 3 of you in the manner of panel discussion or question answer session. So first, ladies first, of course. So I request Dr. Medha Tapiwala to come over and start her view on the topic provided to her. Over to you, Dr. Medha.
Thank you so much. WRC, Professor Shukla, and MVM College, Principal Dr. Kalkoti. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of this August gathering. I mean, it's not that I'm going to give something, I'm going to take away so many things from here. So if you permit me, I will share my screen and start my presentation.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Host has disabled the participant screen sharing.
One sec. Can you do it now, Medha? Yes, you have enabled.
Yeah, I can.
1 minute. Dr. Nagur, you also need screen sharing? Dr. Nagur?
Is my screen visible?
Yes, Medha, yes.
So, let me begin with again thanking you all and
Nedaji,
showing you that,
put it on a slideshow mode. No?
Yeah, I will.
Dr. Pankaj, you also need the PPT presentation?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay. Dr. Nagur? Dr. Basavaraj? Okay, I'll ask him later. Okay.
So I'll run through my presentation in few minutes.
Yeah.
The hospitality and health sector was asked, but health sector is such a vast sector that today I'm going to concentrate only on health sector. Now, what is seen is the budget is totally different from 1947 to today. What is seen is in the last pandemic year, the Indian economy is shrunk, and the amount at which it is shrunk is a sufficiently large one at 7.7%. If you see from 1947 to 1922, from a few hundred crores of rupees, our budget is now transformed to few lakhs crores of rupees, and that is showing the vastness of Indian budget. Now, the concentration of this budget is on the basis of Amrut Kal, as Honorable Finance Minister has said, where now we want to boost our growth by inclusive welfare. And basically for this, what we are concentrating is on expansion of investment in infrastructure. So we want to have a technology-enabled development with which we want to also look for sustainability as energy transition and climate action. So what the 4 goals, as earlier speaker also have focused on, was about Gati Shakti, wherein we will look for inclusive growth. At the same time, we will take care of climate resilient action, and of course, for which the financial investment is very, very important. So these are some of the highlights of the budget, which I am sure the next speaker will take care of it, where it is about how infrastructure is going to be the motivating factor behind all the growth which is happening. Now let me come to the point which is given to me is in terms of health sector. Now, in terms of health sector, if we look at India, we have public and private health expenditure totally. But in this public and private health sector, what we are going to see in the union budget is how the public sector is looking at this health sector. The 4 main points which we are looking at: how inclusive is our health sector, public health sector I'm talking about. Is it possible to have a complete coverage to those people who are in the vulnerable class, and whether in that also will we be able to have a vertical and horizontal spread? Now, vertical spread implies that are we going to look at the advancement of the treatment which is given to the people, and in the case of horizontal spread, how long, how far we are able to even cover those small incidences like viral fever and influenza and something like that. Because the pandemic has taught us that health sector is so important, and especially in this budget, in comparison to the last budget, we have maintained this understanding that how much expenditure is expected and how the gap can be fulfilled between the what is available and what is expected from this. So the pandemic has given us good lessons that how the budget should be. But I will like to draw your attention to one of the concepts which is given by the nuclear treaty initiative. This nuclear threat initiative, which was started, I mean, this particular initiative was taken in 2019, where the 6 pillars are taken to understand the global health and the global the security in terms of how we can deal with this. 37 indicators were given under 6 pillars. Now, 6 pillars were like how we can prevent ourselves from different types of, I mean, if you're aware, in last 25 years, there were few new diseases which have come, like chikungunya is there, or bird flu is there, or swine flu is there. You know, these are some of the different diseases which have come. So now we need to understand that how these diseases, for example, when the pandemic started in 2019, you know, it was for the first time the requirement was how to get it detected and how to report of this. Now, how far the countries are open in this is searched by this particular initiative. So in what way the response can be given to what kind of strategies is adopted over there for every country is taken care of in this case. There are 3 different reviews which were taken by this Global Health Security Index, and this Global Health Security Index where India is ranked as 66 out of 195 countries. That means if you look at the size of India, 7th largest land in the world, 2nd largest population in the world, 6th largest economy in the global. So in that case, how are we looking at our welfare through health is shown over here. So the index of global health security for India is 42.8%. And for which, as I have shown, these are the 6 pillars which have used here. Now, this shows that in 2021, world's average GHI index was 38.9%. This has also been deteriorating from 2019 and especially because of the pandemic. Now, India's rank, which is at present 66, also has gone down because we have got a negative this because of even the pandemic. Now, the lowest one, the highest one is USA, and the lowest one is Somalia, which is one of the very poor country. Now, in GHSI, these are the, I mean, towards the left-hand side, what you say, you see is the top countries to have a good health sector, whereas to compare what is happening to India, India's current health expenditure per capita is only 211, where the world's per capita expenditure, if you say for US, is $10,000. You know, so that's the difference between how our health sector is. I'm talking about the public sector expenditure for health. The comparison is given here as the World Health Organization, which is recommending to have for the ratio of doctor and population as 1:1,000 patients. India has got the ratio as 1:1,456. That shows the budget is trying to fill up this gap. Now, this is the market size of our healthcare sector. And over the years, it is going to go up. The pharmaceutical companies and the other infrastructural growth in the health sector is expected to increase at CAGR 14%. So by 27, our market size of Indian healthcare is going to be 275.5. This is the biggest size. I mean, this is the overall chart of how the total health expenditure is distributed. We have public sector, we have private sector. In public sector, central and state government. State government budget also was given day before, and that also shows that how health sector is doing better. Over the years from 2013 to 2022-23, continuously our health sector budget is increasing. Towards the left-hand side, I have mentioned that how many schemes were introduced from 2014 onwards and how much is the money which is kept for these schemes. I will explain this later in some times. What has happened here is this shows the changes in the percentage of GDP which is spent for health sector in India from 2000 to 2018. Later on, I will show you that how much is the percentage of the GDP spent in 2021. 2.3% only is spent on the health sector out of our total budget. But understand this per capita growth is expected to increase faster, but somehow we are unable to grow it. Now, this is the health budget at nutshell, which is shown here that when we see our health budget, we not include only the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, but we also include how much is the money spent for health research, what is happening to the Ministry of Ayush, which is actively working here. We also see that with the reasons for which the health sector can be improved with the supply of good water and the proper sanitation facilities, and of course the money which is kept as a grant by the 15th Finance Commission on the health. Now, if you see that the percentage change in the budget estimate of 22-23 over 21-22 is not much change. It's on an average moving between the ratio or between the range of 2 low income group, middle income group, upper income group. The yellow one is the higher income group, which shows that the budget spending by the rich countries is approximately 12 and above. Whereas other country like India is still into this blue line where we are showing that it is a lower middle income country because our contribution to the health sector is hardly 2.3%. Now, this is what
Dr. Medha, one minute to complete.
Yeah, okay, I'll write it. I'll go first. Now, these are some of the points which I have found out that how the infrastructure is going to be better off, because what we are going to do is that the health sector has got only 16% of the budget estimate of 16% of the rise in the budget estimate. The major areas where the core health budget for 22-23 is in terms of certain schemes like Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana scheme or the Ayushman scheme, something like that. So the substantial rise is shown in this Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructural Mission, which says that the gap which is existing between availability of doctors, availability of hospitals, availability of beds should be filled up by making this infrastructural expenditure. You know, recently what has happened is in the Ukraine, many of our students who have gone for the medical education were brought back, but understand that if we expand our infrastructure even to create these human resources for the health sector, we would be better off. This year's budget was, the peculiar point which has to be picked up from this year budget is in terms of telemental health program. 40 crores are kept for this telemental health program, which understand the mental health is equally important that in comparison to the physical health too. So according to the National Health Mission on primary health care, 48% which was kept in 21-22 now is gone down to 42%, and the reason lies even I think is in the pandemic, because a lot of money is being diverted over there. So this human shortages which I just spoke about this in the last point, which says that now what is happening here, the figures which says that for the schemes like Ayushman Bharat, for establishment of medical colleges, for national mental health program, at the present a sufficient amount is kept. So when I look at the health sector and the union budget, there's a ray of hope which says that from the lower middle income group may be crossing to the higher middle income group if we follow this Gati Shakti and if we follow this Amrut Kal, for which this budget is started. So with this, I conclude that from the final perspective, financial perspective, India has one of the highest level of out-of-pocket expenditure in the world. Out-of-pocket expenditure is the money which is spent by government in terms of the third-party insurance or in terms of the other expenditure on the budget. So, so that's the reason why even this small level of public spending, which is almost 2.3%, less than 3% of GDP, will in the future try to be upgraded, and that may bring in more, that may crowd in more of the expenditure from the other sector. So I think with this, my points which I wanted to share with you comes to an end. Once again, thank you to have a patient listening. I think I have kept the time, Dr. Kalkoti.
Yes. Thank you very much. And again, when we come back for the discussion, you will have some other points that you could not cover probably to take time to cover. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Dr. Basavaraj Nagur.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah. Please come over and make your points about overview of budget 2022 on the trade and industry. Sir, would you like to have a PPT presentation or you want to give oral presentation? Dr. Basavaraj?
Okay. Hello, sir.
Yeah, good. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yes, you are perfectly audible.
Okay. I don't use PPT, just I will speak.
Fair enough.
Respected principal of MEV Mandals College, Dr. Gopal Kalkoti, and co-finalist and dear participants. I will be focusing on impact of Indian budget on industry and trade. So this time, industry is we're expecting a lot of from the budget, as pandemic badly affected the whole industrial sector from the last 2 years. Their growth rate was very low. They were slowly picking up. They were expecting a big boost from the Union budget in terms of certain concession and also in terms of increasing more investment in the industrial sector. The budget has given a lot of positive things to industry. The reaction from the industry after the budget was good, and they were quite happy also because we see a lot of new initiations have been taken in the union budget to boost the industry sector, not only in terms of certain concession, also in terms of allocating huge public spending, particularly on infrastructure. As you know that this time the capital expenditure has been substantially increased. If you look at effective capital expenditure, it is around 11 lakh crores. It is overall increase in the 35%. It is quite substantial compared to previous capital expenditure. So this is expected that when there is a huge public investment, so there will be more spending and it will give a big boost to the industrial sector in terms of spending more on industrial goods. And also you see a lot of certain tax incentives have been given. So, during the pandemic, a lot of tax incentives have been given to the industrial sector, particularly MSMEs. These have been extended this time also. Under Prime Minister Gati Shakti, a lot of the focus is given not only in the infrastructure, more focus on rural infrastructure. These are expected to give a big boost to infrastructure industry, and particularly the cement industry, bricks industry, where we see labor intensive industry. So when you spend more on, particularly when the public spending is more on infrastructure, it is expected that it will boost labor intensive industries and leads to increase in the employment opportunities. You see that in this budget it is mentioned that there will be increase in the employment opportunity of 60 lakh people over a period of 5 years. And also you see a lot of incentives which are given in the during the COVID. All incentives have been extended, particularly more focus on MSMEs. As you know, among all the industrial industries, MSMEs were badly affected because of COVID. So a lot of incentives were expected. So good that budget has extended a lot of MSMEs, not only in terms of giving more credit concession, particularly the ECLGS scheme is extended from 50,000 to 5 lakh crores. That is, the most welcomed by the industrialists. And most interesting, what we notice in this budget is focusing more on domestic procurement, particularly the defense equipment. So 68% of the capital expenditure of the defense, it is made that it has to be procured domestically. It is expected that such kind of huge budget expenses, when you make compulsory that it has to be procured domestically, it is expected that it's a good start for the defense industry in this country. I hope over a period, not only Indian defense industries will cater the the demand for our defense sector, I hope it will start exporting to the other nations. Our defense equipments, I hope will be high demand in the other industry as well. So overall, what I notice is a lot of incentives have been given to the industry, and the boost is given to industry to gear up from the COVID. And we see that electrical vehicles, then more scope for electrical side. Another thing we notice is more encouragement for the public-private partnership on various sectors, and startup have given a big boost. Startup have given a lot of incentives in the last two budget under COVID. All the incentives have been continued for the startups. So what we see in the industry is what are the incentives were given, were continued, and further boost also in this sector. Coming to trade, what we notice from this budget is the budget focuses more on import substitution, in the sense they are planning to increase more domestic production instead of importing. So the as we see that a lot of it will import. So and also under the Atmanirbhar Bharat, as I say, procurement of the defense domestic SMEs, those who are involved in the export. And what are other things we see in trade in this budget is a lot of duty consuming. There is a reduction on import duties on many products, particularly intermediate inputs, which are used in our domestic production. The whole idea is to, when you reduce the domestic duty, when you reduce the import duties on such intermediate goods, the final production cost which we produce domestically will be reduced, and the competitiveness, not only it improves in the domestic market, it also expected to improve in the international market. This is the whole idea. This idea is very good. Not only it encourages the domestic production, also over a period, Indian industry will become competitive in the international the market. So this is what my overall view on Indian budget on industry and trade. So over to Gopal, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nagur. You are very much on the dot. I appreciate your time management and making your point very crystal clear. Thank you very much. Dr. Pankaj Trivedi, your turn now.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So you have greater responsibility of making your point solid and valid within the time framework, so that we will have more time for discussion later.
Certainly, I will try my best, sir. Certainly, I will try.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So at the outset, thank you, ICSSR, Dr. Smita Shukla, and my friend, Dr. Gopal Kalkoti, for giving me this opportunity. I have heard excellent talk by all earlier speakers. And what I understand is what Professor Mr. Robin has said, that on the budget, already everything is talked about. So there are many points that would be a repetition, but even then, let me put forward in a very crispy way whatever that I wanted to say about the Union Budget 22-23. As all of you know that it is one of the most important policy announcements, and therefore, particularly the students who are there in this meeting, for them, it will be a good learning of macroeconomics and the public policy. So I always look at the budget on the basis of evaluation I do, on the basis of what are the growth measures taken by the government in the budget, what are the stability measures which are taken by the government, and two more, reform measures and fiscal management. So on these four fronts, I always analyze the budget. But anyway, today, I have to focus only on the banking sector, because that is the task given to me. So if you look at the economic survey, which is presented in the parliament just a day before, then you will find that in economic survey, when you read, you get to know the two biggest problem our banking sector is facing today. And these two biggest problems are, one is the rising NPA, that is one, and second is the capital adequacy. So if you look at the economic survey, then as far as the capital adequacy is concerned, the performance is better. The economic survey is saying that the capital required and the capital possessed by the banks in India is gradually improving from 15% to 16% in 1 year. But as far as the non-performing assets are concerned and the stress advances are concerned, on these two fronts, stress advances and non-performing assets, our position is not very good. And therefore, let us see what are the budget proposal with respect to banking sector, which will help us to improve the banking sector of our country. So as all of you know, in this budget, the major thrust was on infrastructure development and inclusive development. Now, when you talk about inclusive development, all of you know that government is very clear with respect to financial inclusion. You pick up any government policy today, any government policy, invariably you will find inclusive development and financial inclusion in that policy statement. And the approach that our government has adopted for financial inclusion is through banking sector. So obviously, the emphasis will be given more on the banking sector. And this approach is also because of the reason, because post 1969, that is post nationalization, the number of branches in the rural areas have substantially increased. And that's the reason the government is trying to reach out to the people through banking sector. So what are the important announcements that I have found in this budget with respect to banks? And that is the one which is already covered by Mr. Shanmugam, but that is one of the important announcements. And that is post offices will be brought under the core banking system. Now you will wonder that earlier also post offices were there. Even the post offices before also were giving the banking facility. But now the post offices are as good as bank. They will function like as good as bank because they are brought under core banking solution. So that is one of the very good steps, according to me, to reach to the people and to achieve the objective of financial inclusion. Similarly, 75 digital banks the government is planning to start in this particular year. So that is also one of the good steps in this direction for achieving the goal of financial inclusion and reaching out to the people. As you know that since 2014, we have already started Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, and that is also doing excellent job. Nearly 45 crores, precisely 44.82 crores accounts are opened, and 1,60,000 crores worth deposits are mobilized. So that scheme is already doing well, but to boost that scheme further and to have more and more people under the banking network, these are the two measures which are taken and which the government is planning to do. That is an excellent measure for financial inclusion, that is including the post office and 75 digital banks. One more measure which is not more noticed by the people with respect to banking sector is the government has committed to take necessary coordination measure, particularly in rural areas between NBFCs, microfinance banks, microfinance institutions, business correspondents, and that is how the flow of fund is to be directed towards the targeted sector. All of you know that in rural areas, there are many financial institutions which are operating, right? But all these institutions are operating in a different direction. So under this budget, the government has decided to bring the coordination between all these institutions so that the objectives and the aims can be achieved well. Another important announcement with respect to banking sector is changes in the IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. I think that also all of you are aware that IBC has proved to be a game changer as far as the NPA management is concerned. But even then, in IBC, there are certain loopholes which are noticed. This is not the right forum to discuss that because very limited times are given. But anyway, so necessary reform measures government is planning to take in IBC and thereby strengthening the IBC. One of the most important thing under IBC, which government is planning to make the change, that I would like to highlight, and that is efficient dispute resolution and enable cross-border insolvency resolution. So, so far IBC proved effective within the country, but even for cross-border insolvency resolution, government is planning to make necessary changes. And another important change in IBC that government is planning to make the changes, the time required for voluntary winding up of the company, that government is planning to reduce from 2 years to 6 months. So that is also one of the very important announcement to my mind. Similarly, for lending and making available credit to the MSME sector, as you know, MSME sector is very vital and very important for our economy, right? Earlier speaker have already talked about importance of MSME. Even Professor Sundarram has also talked about export and import. So contribution of MSME as far as our export is concerned, employment is concerned, GDP is concerned. I need not tell you all these things. So this scheme, which is emergency credit line guarantee scheme, which the earlier speaker has also talked about, right? This is extended for 1 more year. And this is a good step when the country is facing the COVID problem and the industries are struggling to come out of that. The guarantee cover under ECLGS scheme is also extended from 50,000 crores to 5 lakhs crores. So substantial amount is allotted for MSME sector, which definitely proved best. And my last point, even that is also covered by Mr. Shanmugam, and that is digital currency. So this central bank digital currency is also a very good step to my mind for inclusive growth and digitization. If you compare the payment system of India with some of the best developed countries of the world, then also you will notice that India is having more digital payment compared to many developed countries of the world. So the CBDC, central bank digital currency, is also one of the very good steps. According to International Monetary Fund, recent report of IMF, if you read, it is mentioned that nearly 100 countries are deliberating on this CBDC. And of these 100 countries, only 6 countries are at advanced stage. So India has thought about it, and government is committed to introduce digital currency, central banking digital currency. That is a very good step in the banking sector reform to my mind. I just wanted to make one statement. Mr. Shanmugam has already talked about it, but for the students to make it clear, there is a lot of difference between central bank digital currency and cryptocurrency. Please understand, cryptocurrency is not a currency. Though it is said currency, it is not a currency, whereas central bank digital currency is a currency, in the sense that when Reserve Bank of India will issue digital currency, it will be on the liability side of RBI balance sheet. Please understand that. It has got some intrinsic value. Whereas, as Mr. Shanmugam has already said, this cryptocurrency is purely valued on the basis of demand and supply. So the students need to understand the difference. And to my mind, this is a very good step for digitization of the country and inclusive growth. So with this word, I need to stop here because I need to manage the time. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Fantastic.
I'm free for
So superb. You are very, very much on time.
Thank you.
This is what is the presentation should be like. You have not left any point and you have taken perfect time.
Thank you.
Okay. Now I request all the panelists to please put their video on. We'll have a discussion. And I request all the participants to post their questions in the chat box. I'll pick them up and ask these panelists. They will be definitely in the position to answer your queries. And I also request panelists, if at all I ask a particular question, it may be the representative question of the audience. It need not be necessarily that if I ask the question on trade and finance, only Dr. Nagur should speak, or only Dr. Beda, anybody can speak to make the point. Only thing is, it should be crisp, brief, convincing, smart. Okay, fine. Now, one common question to all the 3 panelists. What is one good point in this budget in the area that you have spoken? And what is one point that all of you wished should have been covered but has not been covered?
Sure.
Simple, very, very simple. A point, good. You thought it is good. You wanted it to cover, it is covered. But one point, oh yeah, this should have been covered and it has not been properly covered, you can say. Okay, each one of you can start. In the same order, Medha.
Yeah, sure. That's a good question actually, because that's the thing which we are expecting to tell to even the finance minister, that this is what is good about the budget. See, basically what I feel from health perspective, what is good is because pandemic has shown us the true colors of life. I think we have been really grasping to have more money to get for health sector. And the pandemic has actually helped us to make that provision, and finance minister has really made to whatever is possible, that provision is made. But what is happening here is to make it sustainable, you know, because as I said, the number of beds which we are having, number of hospitals which we are having, number of doctors which we are having, per capita in comparison to the other countries, even in the middle income group, we are lagging behind. So I think this budget, the good point which I find in this budget is that we have started making provisions for the infrastructure, as it is, the budget is considered as an infrastructural budget. So even for the health sector, I find that this is something which is good and which can be continued even for next, because what we are expecting, that sustainable goals also should be achieved by 2025, which may not be possible if we don't make that expenditure. So this is one good point, that because infrastructure of the health sector is also taken care of, that will make our gap at least go down a little bit. But the point of concern here is, even if we are making this provision, maybe to somewhere people have not even noticed that because of this diversion of money to the infrastructure, the like how in finance we see that the revenue expenditure is not being taken care of. Like that here, what I feel is the regular expenditure which is incurred on those people who are very, very vulnerable and need to spend money on the horizontal spread, like the normal diseases, because of their low nutrition, low immunity. Now, what is being done in this budget is not very clear yet. You know, though we have Ayushman scheme, though we have the other supportive schemes, I think, and even another point which I find is, especially for the gender difference, to fill up this the gender gap, I think the budget has not given the proper attention, for especially for the health.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I think
Dr. Nagur, what do you think is good about budget?
One very good point which liked me most is domestic procurement of defense equipments. In the budget, they have made it compulsory that 68% of capital expenditure of defense equipment will be procured domestically. I hope this will give a big boost to the domestic industry in the country, and over a period, our competitiveness in the international market also will increase. One disappointment from the budget from my side is the industry were expecting that the corporate tax will be reduced from the 25% to a little bit lower, because 25% is quite high compared to other countries. This is one disappointment point from my side. Thank you, sir.
Okay, okay. So what do you think about the budget and its concentration on the small scale and medium scale industries, MSME? You think you are happy with that, whatever budget provision has been made?
SMEs are the most vulnerable sector now because of COVID. They have badly affected. Many the SMEs they have left the SME industry because unable to cope up. Given the circumstances, whatever Sitaram has done, being a student of economics, she has tried her level best to bring the SMEs on track. But these measures, in my opinion, may not 100% suffice to bring SMEs on track and make it more strong. So a lot of credit, a lot of support is required for SMEs. And for example, in Karnataka, certain additional steps along with union the government initiatives, the state has also taken certain initiations to boost up SMEs. If a similar initiation is taken by other states, and each states and the union together can give a big boost to the SMEs. But in my opinion, whatever incentives they are taken or support that, it's a good, but they may not suffice. Few more are expected from particularly the SMEs.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Before I go to Dr. Pankaj Trivedi, I request participants, there are 140 participants here. Not a single question has been posted in the chat box as yet. I'm sure my panelists are very competent. They have made all the points very clear. You have absolutely no doubts, I'm aware. But still, I would be happy if at all, any area that you think you want to ask a question, you can still put it in the chat box. Okay, on that note, Dr. Pankaj Trivedi, same question to you, one good point and one point of concern.
Yes, sir. Good point I already covered. Just quickly, I will repeat. One thing we need to understand, India is not Mumbai. India is not Bangalore. India is not Delhi. Real India is lying in the rural areas. So in this budget, one of the good points is, as I already said, with respect to banking sector, covering post office. The country with 6 lakhs villages and having only 1,35,000 branches of bank. So we have to do a lot. And here the post office can play important role because we have nearly 1,55,000 post offices in India. So for rapid capital formation and financial inclusion, this is one of the best steps. As far as the limitation, one of the limitation I would like to put here, and that is with respect to fiscal deficit. In 21-22, it is praised that the government is able to keep the fiscal deficit under control. But let me tell you, this is because of 16% increase in the revenue. And that's the reason they are able to keep the fiscal deficit under control. So please don't look at the fiscal deficit figure only. You have to look at the quality of fiscal deficit. Don't focus on quantity. Now, what do you mean by quality of fiscal deficit? I understand in this way, you have to look at the proportion of revenue deficit to fiscal deficit. So that if you work out, if you calculate that based on the figures which are presented in the budget, then it is running to around 60%, exactly 59.26%. So what it shows, let me put it in a simple language. What it shows that whatever total borrowing which the government is planning to do, from that nearly 60% will be spent for revenue expenditure to meet day-to-day expenditure. So when the borrowed funds are utilized to meet day-to-day expenditure, it is not at all a good finance that any finance and economics student is aware of. Borrowed funds should be used in such a way which is useful to generate further income. So quality of fiscal deficit is one aspect that is, to my mind, is the negative point. Thank you, sir.
Point well made, Dr. Trivedi, but post offices were basically required to cater to the service of sale of the postcards, envelopes, and then sending it to the respective people. That basic function is taken over by the private courier services. Therefore, they required a cushion. So they required a kind of protection. Therefore, giving them the banking function is okay, welcome move. But the worry is, as it is already, there is a stiff competition between the private for banks, where you already know there is a merging of so many public sector banks into one to make it big, to reduce the competition between and among that is happening. With this budget, if post offices are also coming to perform the role of banking, then the extent of competition will be now between and among the existing public sector banks and group of public sector banks, private requirement of the public when they come to the post offices.
Clear now.
Yeah.
Okay, so point is clear. Could you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah. In between, we were lost you. In between.
Okay, okay.
No, no problem. No problem. Sir.
So I
Go ahead.
repeat, with this, the move is very good. I appreciate. I also acknowledge that they should be given some question. But when we think of the competition, will they come up to the level of public expectation? Is a fear. Of course, time itself will tell.
Yeah. You want me to answer this question?
Please,
sir?
please, please.
Yeah. So, sir, what I understand is here, rather than competition, the objective of the government is to reach to the people. And for reaching in a vast geographical country, you need some institutions network, which is useful to reach to these people who are located at remote places. So post office is one of the best institutions in this matter, because as I already told you, we have nearly 155,000 post offices in India, right? And most of the villages, even smallest of the small village, is having these kind of post office. Okay, secondly, the government is not expecting these post offices to do some advanced financial functions like merchant banking or investing in stock market, something like that, treasury functions and all that. The focus of the government is simply to mobilize the deposit and providing banking services to the people. So that is what my answer is. Here the issue is reaching out to the people.
Okay.
And that's the reason, even the correspondent banking is also started.
Okay.
With the help of that electronic devices. Even a local kirana shop or a retired military person in a small village is functioning like a bank today. But they are simply accepting deposit and returning their saving. That's all. They are not giving even loans.
Yeah. Okay. So you have a very good ray of hope, but I have my own reservations because now there is Google Pay, Phone Pay, and Direct Pay. So let us hope that the banking service with the post office will definitely improve. There is one question in the chat box, luckily for me, and this is from economics faculty, Madam Venu Swadia. I read the question and any of the panelists can answer this. She says, good afternoon, sir. My question is, what would be the impact of current budgetary allocation on fiscal deficit? What would be the impact of current budgetary allocation on fiscal deficit?
Should I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. So as I already told you, fiscal deficit, which is estimated by the government in 22-23, is 6.4%. So whatever allocation which is made in the budget, taking into account all this expenditure, the deficit estimated is 6.4%. Now we have to see whether government is able to maintain this at this level. And here the biggest challenge would be the revenue mobilization. If the revenue mobilization will be enough, then government will be able to meet this target, right? Why? Because due to COVID, the revenue mobilization is also under question because industries and trade are still recovering. So that is under question. And secondly, every year, as all of you know, government is heavily depending on disinvestment of PSU. But if you look at the performance card of last 3 years on this front, it is not very good. The target set is 65,000 crores, 75,000 crores, but those targets are never met. So we have to see how the government is able to manage fiscal deficit within this limit. But the maths which is done by the finance minister, it shows that their target is 6.4%, and with this huge allocation also, they'll be able to maintain it. So we have to see this. We have to see this. Yeah.
Okay. So I see Dr. Sundarram's message here. He says, in fact, Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal also depend on India's post for moving packages. So it's a win-win situation. Yes, that's true, Sundar. Thanks. And COVID years are exceptional. Revenue is down and expenses are more. Therefore, particularly vaccination and all that. So jumbo hospitals, jumbo things, now they are to be closed. So opening is one, closing is the double disadvantage. So all these are there. So thank you, Sundar, for your contribution. Now,
if I add something to it,
please,
what
please,
I
please,
feel,
you can. That is what panelists can do. Yes, yes, yes.
See, because basically this fiscal deficit issue, I mean, there are two different ways of thought saying that why do we want to have this fiscal deficit and is it going to have an adverse impact on the economy? You know, as we all have seen, I mean, the government budget only can be can have deficit. You see, the other budgets cannot because then the sustainability goes. So many a times from the north side, especially from Delhi side, Delhi University, there are thinkers who say that even if this fiscal deficit exists, maybe we may not have some issues. But what we have seen is inflationary pressure definitely goes on increasing if this fiscal deficit continues for the longer period of time. And what we have seen is in the last 2 years, this since we have seen that the revenue collection was not enough. Obviously, government needs to meet this deficit with the different other instruments. And because of this, I am sure even in the future course of time, the percentage of inflation, the rate of inflation is going to be a little higher because of this growing fiscal deficit. I think that's the reason we need to be a little more careful about how the sustainability is maintained. That is how the Gati Shakti budget is meant for. That is it from my side.
Thank you, Veda, for a contribution. There is one question from.
May I speak on fiscal deficit?
Dr. Basavaraj, please.
Okay, thank you. I rightly agree with my co-finalist with their review of fiscal deficit. So, in my opinion, if you look at revenue generation from January and February, I hope the revenue target in this budget will be achievable. And secondly, the public disinvestment from the PSU, this time they kept it quite reasonable, around 65,000 crores. They are also achievable. So what we see from the fiscal deficit new approach is that due to COVID, we see that fiscal deficit has suddenly gone up and 15 lakh crores last year, and before last year another 15 lakh crores fiscal deficit, and this time 12 lakh crores fiscal deficit. So it is important, of course, borrowing always put pressure on existing loan and our interest payment will increase every year, that I completely agree. So what we see in new approach from the last 2 years, particularly our Subramaniam, the economic advisor to the Prime Minister, what he says is, it is not borrowing, it is where you spend on the borrowed amount.
Very well said.
If the returns to borrowing is higher than what interest you pay,
servicing is automatic. Repayment as well as payment of interest will be easy and automatic.
Yeah, this is what they have clearly said. If returns to borrowing is higher than the interest what you pay on borrowing, so that is better, that is a positive. So then this will, where you spend, that is most important. If you are spending on infrastructure, that will increase the overall GDP through multiplier. So this is how they have, it is proved in the research also that the higher fiscal deficit all the time may not bad for the economy. Thank you, sir.
That's thank you, sir. There is one question from faculty Samina Chaudhary. She asks, what are the principal sources of financing the current budgetary allocations? What are the principal sources of financing current budgetary allocations? Dr. Pankaj?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
See, the principal sources are two. One is the tax revenue, and second is disinvestment of PSU. As far as the profit generated from PSU is concerned, again, the performance is not very excellent. So government is heavily depending on indirect taxes like GST, not even direct taxes, indirect taxes, heavy dependence on that. If you look at from where the rupee comes and where they are spending, you will get to know this. So two main sources are indirect taxes and disinvestment in PSU.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question by Ms. Nausin Mistry is, what is the rationale behind the disinvestment of public sector units for financing the current budget? She must be taking the cue from the move of the budget to the privatization of LIC. Okay, so keeping that in mind, she would be asking this question. Will you like to answer, Pankaj, or Meda would like to?
I mean, others can also, but I can also answer. I mean,
yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so you see, as far as the PSU in India is concerned, it has got a long history. Ever since 1956, India has adopted socialistic pattern of society, right? And therefore, huge amount of investment over a period of time was made in PSU. I'm not saying that PSU has not helped the country at all. Let me tell you, the strong industrial foundation of our country is made by PSU only. But over a period of time, the typical problem of public sector undertakings have cropped up in these units. And, you know, wastages, overstaffing, inefficiency, all this has cropped up. And because of that, this huge investment was not generating enough income for the government. So what is the option left with the government now? So that's the reason they have started gradually disinvestment of PSUs. But please understand, the person who has asked the question, government is not recklessly doing this investment. They will go through into the detail. They will first find out whether this unit requires this investment. What is the return generated, as I told? What is the investment made? And only selected units are chosen for disinvestment. We already have, you know, disinvestment commission and disinvestment department, DIPAM, various government departments are there. So they go through particular undertaking and then they take decision. It will serve two purposes. Number one, whatever investment which is made by the government, not generating enough return, they are getting back. And number two, when there is a private sector enters into this public sector ownership, definitely it will lead to increase in efficiency because there will be more accountability.
Good, good. Okay. Now the next question is, for the government exchequer, the hospitality industry and the film industry, they are the major contributors. If you see the total revenue that comes from these two, what I mean by hospitality industry is both boarding, lodging, traveling, and all that put together in one framework, hospitality industry. Film industry, I don't mean only the Bollywood, it all over the country. 22 months, these two industries were totally shut. No revenue, but expenses were there. You know, there were some fixed expenses which were anyway had to be borne by them. So are you happy with the budget provision to protect these two industries, which are the major contributors? Number one, has there been any provision? If so, are you happy with the amount of provision made? Anybody can take this question. Two industries and their protection. Don't you think they are important, first of all?
Yes, sir. Yeah, please, madam, please.
Of course, I have not worked much on it, but this is only by what observation I have found. See, what happens is this particular industry, when you talk about Bollywood, it is one of the biggest entertainment industry in the world, you know, one of guys. So what has happened is, and in terms of the economic participation of this particular industry, in terms of creation of employment, in terms of creation of, the income generation to have this multiplier effect in the future, it is of lot of use. Now, what has happened is because of diverting all the attention only to meet the expenses of the pandemic, these industries, because, you know, entertainment comes after the necessities are satisfied. It is like first comes necessities, then come comforts, and then the luxuries. So Bollywood and all, I think that must have been included in the secondary type of wants. So I'm sure that this particular aspect of giving boost to this industries is not seen as much as it was supposed to be seen, because 23% of lower category employment is coming from there. You see, so the speed of this industry was also very high, which was also boosting the total GDP rate. I mean, of course, it is not as other sectors were doing, but definitely entertainment industry was important. But I think what has happened now is with digitalization, even this industry is getting transformed. And to some extent, the OTT platforms and other ways of this have given them some ray of hope for the industry to come up. So what I feel is what is necessary is to look for how this transformation can be, can be more successful in the future course of time. So that's what I feel.
What about hospitality part?
No, I don't think I will be the right person to talk more on
Pankaj,
hospitality.
would you like to?
I have just one point for hospitality.
Okay,
This
okay.
ECLGS scheme, which is extended and the more funds are allotted, with respect to this scheme, while making the presentation of budget in the parliament, finance minister said that the focus will be given to hospitality industry. So I think indirectly the signal is given to the lenders, public sector bank and NBFCs and other private sector lenders, that they should give preference to hospitality industry, because as you, Professor Kalkoti, has rightly said, that these two industries suffered a lot during COVID. That's the only thing I can say.
Okay, fair enough. Now coming to one of the very important aspects that all of us are involved in, that is education sector in general, higher education in particular. Okay, all said and done, in the last 22 months, the students, the parents, the teachers, the colleges, the universities, and all the levels of education have been terribly affected. Let us not name a single part of it. Okay, only consolation is we have not lost the academic year. Okay, that's the only consolation. What has been taught, what has been understood, let us not discuss. But now, Dr. Anand was telling in his presentation, new national education policy is also coming shortly to be implemented. Okay, and in that, all of us know that 5 + 3 + 3, 4, and then the degree will be of either 3 years or 4 years. In this, all the people who are employed in junior college, they need to be employed somewhere suitably. Okay, and this is a very serious issue. And as far as degree is concerned, there are multiple exit points. Okay, and there is choice-based system for the student. A student can opt economics, mathematics, music, biology, and chemistry. Okay, as and when it comes, we have to adopt it. And the days and years are not too far. The question now is, do we have any provision for all this in the budget? If so, is it sufficient?
May I answer, sir?
Please.
See, I am happy to share with you that Karnataka state is the first in the country to implement national
ADP,
education
yes, sir.
policy. We have already implemented in the UG level from the last year. We almost completed the first semester. So there is a lot of flexibility in the policy document to adopt which suits to us. There is no compulsion to but the general guidelines remain same, that as you said, the multiple exit and multiple entry, lot of choices are given to the students. For example, if a student passes economics as a major, this time there is a provision to have a major and minor papers. For example, in Karnataka, in the 4-year UG program, first 2 years they study 2 papers, equal importance. In the 3rd year, they will choose the major subject. One will be major and another will be the minor. This is how in Karnataka it is adopted, to tell the glimpses of what we have adopted. And coming to the financial allocation, they are not made any specific allocation to this thing, but I think overall there is increase of 20% allocation to the entire education sector. So this is what I have seen. But as you have mentioned, there is going to be a drastic administrative change in the secondary and primary and PU colleges. There is this complete revamp in the administrative setup in these education system, particularly primary and upper primary and what we say that class 11th and 12th. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, there's one layman's question. When the budget provision is made, we normally see in the next day's newspaper from where the rupee comes and where does it go, percentage wise. Okay, so they say from this much will come, tax revenue, non-tax revenue, profits from this, etc. Then the expenses, etc. The question is, planning is okay. This is what is planned. But when it comes to the implementation level, there are a lot of problems. Because at the planning stage, you give importance to sector A. At the implementation level, you need to provide importance to something else. So there is a juggling of the possibility. So how this problem can be sorted out? You have made a provision, and the circumstances 3 months down the line, 4 months down the line, will not allow you to stick to the plan that the budget estimation have been made. So what could be the suggestion? Now, I ask this question because today, all over India, people have thought that now there is no COVID. Okay, people have stopped wearing masks. People are moving in mass. Okay, theaters have started. Schools have reopened. People think that now there is nothing like COVID. Okay, 19, 20, 21, all have gone. It is not so. All the major newspapers today have covered that. China, it has re-embarked. 8 major towns in China have already declared a lockdown. So there is hanging sword on all the other countries, including India. Okay, so let us not immediately wrap up all our sanitary things, okay, distance, social distancing, washing hands. No, this is a new normal. So the basic question is how the budget allocation in the planning stage, how at the implementation stage will be properly collaborated. It happens at the family level, don't you think so? We make monthly budget and it goes haywire. We make 6 monthly budget, it all the more go. And even if we know our source of income, we fail miserably. But government, it has a huge task. So what's your take on that?
Sir, to my mind, there is only one answer, and that is also in one word: administrative reform. There should be proper checks and balance and controls whether the actual spending is taking place as per the target. If not, taking immediate corrective action and fixing accountability. I think this is one of the points where we are lacking bit: accountability fixing and administrative reform for effective implementation. I would like to listen to the views of the other panelists.
Okay.
May I?
Yeah, Dr. Mehta, please.
As Dr. Trivedi has rightly said, it is the reforms, but these reforms should be very, very disciplined reform,
That's true.
Because what is happening is in India, we say it is the largest democracy, but somehow this democracy is unable to give the results which is expected in the democracy. People talk only about the rights and freedoms, but they don't talk about the responsibilities. And it's not only people, I'm also talking about the leaders, and I'm also talking about those who are actually at the position to execute this. So unless we have discipline, unless we have a proper governance taken care of, it may be in terms of health, it may be in terms of the regional differences, it may be in terms of execution, or even in the financial sector, everywhere. Unless there is a proper governance maintained and the disciplined actions are taken, I don't think we will be able to minimize even the gaps which were explained as the fiscal deficits and others. So for execution, disciplinary actions are required. So that is it from my side.
Okay. Now there are no more questions on the chat box. Now I would like to give you, all the three of you, 1 minute each. Okay, whatever you wanted to make in your presentation, because of the paucity of time, you could not make that. So I have kept a buffer time for you all. So 1 minute each. So you can make the point that you had missed in your presentation. And it starts from the first speaker, Meda.
Thank you for so liberal and giving us this opportunity to speak, because we professors, you know, if given a chance,
1
we
minute.
can speak
1
for 2
minute.
hours.
30 seconds are over now.
So as
I
far
said
as
1 minute.
possible, I will, of course, not many points which I have missed here, especially when I was talking about the health sector budget. I really wanted to mention about how in India, insurance is also playing such an important role. And this budget with the Ayushman schemes, government is taking this. I mean, you must have heard about the health cards. You know, so provision of health card and the digitalization of this health card, which is a very, very innovative idea, which is being executed, which will be executed now. And that will be, I mean, there are views that people say that then the privacy will not be maintained. But what I believe is that because of this, maybe the people who are unable to keep the track record of what has happened and how the execution of those policies were. I think that these types of digitalization will help them, because you will have a ready record with you. So these kind of ready records will help us to take future actions in the lucid and better manner, in an appropriate manner. This is what I feel. So I think this point I have
2 minutes you took.
Sorry?
You took 2.5 minutes now.
Hey.
Thank you.
I
Dr.
think
Basavaraj
your
Nagur,
clock is
I
too
am
fast
generous.
for me.
I am generous in giving you time. I am
So your
equally
clock
critical
is too
about
fast for
cutting you
me.
short. Yeah. Dr. Nagur,
Okay, I think that
your
is
time
it.
Yes,
starts now. 1 minute.
from my side, it is one of the wonderful budget presented by Nirmala Sitharaman without burdening the common people. She has made a record allocation this time with more focus on capital expenditure, increased by 35%, with more focus on physical infrastructure. And though the elections were nearer, they have not announced any populist scheme to attract the voters. Whatever the plan they have spent on infrastructure is on improving the basic infrastructure like new highways, roads, then new airways. This is the positive part of the budget. The disappointing is the expected allocation is not made on agriculture and health. The more allocation and more focus was must have given to the rural development agriculture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Nagur. Dr. Trivedi.
Yes, sir. To my mind, one of the most important thing which is required is still we have to do a lot of things as far as ease of doing business in India is concerned. In the current budget, 25,000 compliances are reduced and 1,486 union laws were repealed. It is a right step in the right direction, but I think we have to do much more, because there are many hindrances in our ease of doing business because of more than 100 years, 200 years laws, still we are following that. So this is one area where government has to do still more. That's from my side, sir.
Great. Okay, so now we come to the one very important aspect of this panel discussion and this online conclave: experience sharing by the participants. So 2 participants have come forward. Let us hear them out. Seema madam, call them.
Yeah, I would like to invite Assistant Professor Anish Desai sir to share his experience and share his thoughts on this conclave. Sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, all the dignitaries and all eminent speakers. It's like a mixed feeling. I'm feeling very happy and I'm feeling amazed with the expertise and all the knowledge that you have given and exhibited. Like I was thinking about, it's like on this weekend we are having a festival of Holi, and as everybody know, Holi is colorful. So I think this complete session is very colorful. So it resembling the various colors, various topics like cryptocurrency, then agriculture, then Gini coefficient, FDI, digital banks, health sector, blockchain, UPI, open network, e-commerce. I had never actually expected that I will be getting all the insights about this various vast variety of topics. And this is, I'm very happy and I'm feeling very privileged to attend this session and listening to all the valuable insights from all the speakers. So I'm very happy and I'm feeling that it's a very great day for me, that I have learned everything about a budget with such a wide range of different perspectives. So I really am very happy to attend this, and my heartful thanks to all the eminent speakers. And I'm really enjoyed the session. Thank you very much.
That is why in the beginning I said it is a platter. So
Yes,
everybody
sir.
will have something to eat. Okay, you have a good platter of good combination of good masala and all that. Okay,
Cecil, I
thank you.
grabbed everything, sir. I grabbed
Thank you,
everything. I
Ajish.
didn't left anything.
Seemaji, who is our next person who is?
The next, Nyana Selvi ma'am has expressed her,
Yes,
interest
yes,
to
madam. Please go
provide
ahead.
feedback. Ma'am, please, yeah. I think, ma'am, you're on mute. We are not able to hear you. Yeah. To see? No, no, still we are not able to hear you. No.
No, it's not having this. Have this, have this.
Yeah. We can hear the sound now. Tell me,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ma'am, the session was very informative and provided a deep insight about country's budget, and various aspects of the budget was discussed in detail, like hospitality and health, on trade and industry, and on banking. So I thank all our eminent speakers, and the resource person had extensive knowledge on the topics they
discussed. Thank you.
And, yeah. Now we come to the hello. Now we come to the last part of the session, that is proposal of vote of thanks.
Okay. Just a minute, sir. Yeah. So we have reached to afternoon this morning. Good afternoon, everyone. We have come to the end of this session, and it was a pleasure to listen to all dignitaries, academicians, and the deliberate discussions highlighting various aspects of this Union Budget 2022. I'm very humbled and honored to be the one who will be making a closing remark and giving a word of thanks to all dignitaries, resource person, and panelists of today. After huge success of this online conclave, jointly organized by WRC, ICSSR, and MB Mandali's Colleges of Commerce and Science, I would like to thank each and everyone who has been part of this conclave. Let me begin with our inaugural session, today's chief guest, Dr. Sundar. So thank you so much for joining us. Also, I would like to thank our guest of honor of the day, Dr. Anand, for being with us today. Thanks to our Chairman Education Committee of MVM Trust, Sanjeeva K. Salian, for his constant support on organizing this event. Coming to the resource person, the basic objective of this session or this conclave was to focus on issues and challenges of Union Budget 2022. And I think the panel member, technical session 1 and technical session 2 panelists have left no stone unturned to cover, they have covered each and every aspect, whether it's the agriculture, finance, or the rural and all area, I must say. So I am heartfelt thanks to our resource person from technical session 1, that's Mr. Robin Banerjee, Dr. Parashuram Patil sir, and Dr. Venkatalam Sunmungamji. My sincere thanks to all panelists. I think recently, since last 2 years after COVID, we all have gone through many webinars and international conferences online. But believe me, I think the participants will also agree with me that this session was something unique and different. As Kalkoti sir was saying, it was a platter. It was having everything. Like जो sessions हमने पिछले कुछ सालों में देखे हैं, वहाँ पे after 1 hour or half an hour, you feel like okay, अब discussion बस हो गया, and we already know this. But believe me, 10 o'clock we started this session, and now it's almost more than 1 o'clock. 3 घंटे से लोग continuously सुन रहे हैं, और एक भी ऐसा time नहीं आया. There was not a single minute where we felt that okay, we are bored and we know this. Because everybody was having something or other to add on, and we were like, oh, this is another angle which we never thought of. This is another aspect which we never thought of. So thank you so much for all the panelists giving this new vision to this new Union Budget 2022. And at the end, Yeah, so thanks to all panelists, Dr. Veda Tapewala ma'am, Dr. B.S. Nagur sir, and Dr. Pankaj Trivedi ji. It was really a fruitful discussion. I would like to place on record the contribution of everyone towards the success of this event. All the team members, especially special thanks to Smita, Dr. Smita ma'am from ICSSR, and the entire team of ICSSR, the entire team of MVM for this such a good and strong collaboration. Last but not the least, all technical support provided by Mr. Ajay Varma and Mr. Prathamesh from MVM College. They have been constantly on their laptops and just ensuring that things move smoothly. Thanks to everyone, all faculty members, participants. Thanks everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Kalkoti. Without your support, without your guidance, this event would have not been successful. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Okay. One last request
for
to
those
everyone.
kind words.
Yes, ma'am. One last request. We have just now posted one feedback form link on the chat box. All participants are requested to fill that feedback form. On the basis of the feedback form, your certificates will be provided on your respective mail ID. So please do that. And sir, over to you.
Yeah. Once again, thank you very much, all of you, starting from ICSR to all the people who are involved in this. And we will have some more seminars, conclaves, conferences like this if you give your solid cooperation the way you have given to us today. So on that note, we will end this session with the Rashtrageet Jana Gana Mana. I have stood up. I request all of you
फर्स्ट
to
क्लास तो
stand
हो
up
गई सर्विस
ठंडा तो कर नहीं
wherever.
रहा
Yeah.
फिर तो सर जी मनाली की टिकट कटा लो या नया एसी बुक करा लो नया
Just advertisement in between. Okay.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे
Jaya, 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 He. Thank you. Thank you all once again. On that note, I'm signing off. See you soon on one more new topic, new conference, new conclave. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks all resource persons and panelists. It was really nice to hear you all.
Group photo.
We enjoyed it. Yeah, one group photo. Can we have it there?
Yes, 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 yes. Whoever there, please stand up and please keep your video on. We'll have a group photos now.
The faculty members, participants.
जितने भी है फटाफट वीडियो ऑन करो जल्दी जल्दी ऑन करो वीडियो टकाटक लीजिए फोटोज ले लीजिए Nagur sir, yes, requesting all to please switch on your camera.
Yeah, all can come on one screen.
Our technician is clicking the photographs. Be smiling.
Yeah, like that.
Ajay ji, how far you have come? Done, done. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you all. Okay.
Thank you.
So on that note, I sign off and goodbye. Take care. Take care.
Participants, please do not miss to fill feedback form because certificates will be provided once you fill your feedback form, please. Yeah, once you are done with filling the feedback form, we can leave.
Very well. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone.
अरे मैं वही बोल रही, यहाँ से क्या आवाज आती है, मैं बोले